Well, being young and I kind of got on the ground. I hate to admit this now, sort of in the fetal position, sort of like, what is this? And it was had this beautiful almond-shaped eye, like deer eyes. But it was an extraterrestrial biological life form. And he came up to me and touched me on my right shoulder. And whatever happened, the electromagnetic effect of it, all my hair, I had more hair then, stood on end completely. And I was totally electromagnetized. And subsequently, we went from there, and in an instant, went on board this craft. And what happened after that is sort of metaphysical, in the sense that we seem to dematerialize and then appear out in space. And I was sitting with these other extraterrestrial beings in a meditative state. And people say, well, what were they saying? I said, it wasn't about saying, it was about being. But what we did was that I was teaching them what it was like for a young man, to be in cosmic consciousness as a human. And then that's where we met. We met in that state of cosmic consciousness. And then we created what's known as the CE5 protocols, the Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind protocols. That's where they came from. And basically I began to practice this ability with them to see them in the mind's eye and then vector them to a location and have an encounter. And they told me that at some point this would be very important to know how to teach other people.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. So many of you have been asking me about Stephen Greer and his new event, because the hype train for this so-called historic disclosure event has been going for quite some time now, because apparently Dr. Stephen Greer has all new whistleblowers. They're going to blow the lid off of the alien presence on Earth. Or are they? So I have been doing my due diligence. Remember, friends, it's always best to have facts in hand before putting mouth in gear. And I have stood on the sidelines and watched the idiots that are business associates of Dr. Stephen Greer, and many of you know who I'm talking about, helping this hype train, talking about these new whistleblowers are going to blow the lid off this thing. No, they're not. And tonight we are going to basically take apart 2 of the 4 so-called whistleblowers. Now, before we even get into the specifics here, I really think that the term whistleblower is just thrown around so much in the world of UFOs. You know, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Edward Snowden is a whistleblower, right? Because he had actual evidence, right? Julian Assange, some people would term him a whistleblower because he had mountains of actual evidence. So did Edward Snowden, Chelsea Manning. These are real government whistleblowers. The so-called whistleblowers in the UFO community, however, are LARPers or live action role players. They are playing the part of a whistleblower, but they're not whistleblowers because by and large, most of them don't have evidence. They've all got a lot of stories, and we're going to get into this tonight. But they don't have actual proof or evidence of their claims. Snowden had proof of all of his claims. Chelsea Manning had proof of all Chelsea's claims, and Edward Snowden, or excuse me, of course, Julian Assange had proof out the wazoo. He had actual government videos, actual government documents, real leaked material. And each of those whistleblowers actually had consequences. That comes with being a whistleblower. So first, let's define the term, the real term whistleblower. A whistleblower is a person, often an employee, who reveals information about an activity within a private or public organization which is deemed illegal, immoral, illicit, unsafe, or fraudulent. Whistleblowers can use a variety of internal or external channels to communicate information or allegations. And we can further that. A whistleblower is any individual who provides the right information to the right people. Stated differently, lawful whistleblowing occurs when an individual provides information that they can reasonably believe evidences wrongdoing to an authorized recipient. Dr. Stephen Greer is not an authorized recipient of anything classified, so we're not going to get anything like that. What we're going to get is stories. That's what we're going to get. And let's get into some of what I have found about Dr. Stephen Greer's whistleblowers. And I have been digging into this in the sidelines while I'm watching people like Third Phase of Moon and other people who, oh, by the way, let's be sure that we cover that. If somebody is making money with and from Dr. Stephen Greer, you cannot trust anything that they say about the legitimacy of Stephen Greer's so-called whistleblowers. Oh, they're all going to blow the whistle and blow the lid off these aliens. No, they're not. And we're going to show you why that's the case tonight. But let's get into it. So he's got an event on June 12th at the National Press Club, kind of a redo of the 2001 event, which was Big Nothing Burger. Because, you know, I get messages from time to time. Oh, Stephen Greer did a lot of good in 2001. No, who were his whistleblowers back then? Mark McCandlish, who had stories and no evidence. Let's see, Clifford Stone, who had stories and no evidence, right? And the usual cast of characters. He didn't have whistleblowers. He had people from the UFO community that have been telling the same stories for years without proving them. And that's what we're getting again. So now we've got, I've got this to share with you, copied off of the event website. This is the best info Greer will be presenting, shaking my head. And this comes from Megalomart1. Thanks for providing this information. National Press Club event, Disclosure 2.0, Monday, June 12th, 2023, right? Here is a summary of only some of the witness testimony that will be presented at the conference. Now, we've been able to identify two of these so-called whistleblowers, and we're going to detail that for you this evening. And unlike the people that are hyping this event and helping Greer to sell this event as some big deal, I'm going to tell you the truth about these so-called whistleblowers, and wait till you hear the quality of the whistleblowing that we're going to get from Stephen Greer's new event. One, someone working for a contractor at the Dugway Proving Grounds on different occasions saw a hybrid ET being autopsied, the opening to a massive underground facility over 1,000 square miles, and a craft being worked on. Two, another person was with a couple of Raytheon employees watching a UFO that seemed like a hologram, with them alluding to the fact that Raytheon had made it. Three, a contractor working at the South Pole who saw a neutrino light array used to track UFOs. Four, a military guy who saw an ARV, a man-made UFO, alien reproduction vehicle, being used for drug trafficking. Now, I believe that we have identified two of the whistleblowers, so-called whistleblowers of Stephen Greer, and that would be number 3 and number 4. Number 3 is a man that many people in the UFO community and secret space program community are already familiar with, a man named Eric Hecker, who's making an awful lot of claims about mind control devices at the South Pole, and so far has provided no evidence. A lot of stories. And by the way, today I had rather heated email exchange with that person. And I should also mention, as we welcome all of our live chat members tonight, I should also mention that I wasn't doing this show yet. But just by chance, and by the way, I'm also on the Secret Teachings tonight with Ryan Gable. Apparently, Ryan Gable had a rather heated exchange with this person, Eric. And Eric contacted me like it was somehow my responsibility to stop him, Ryan Gable, from saying things. And no, Ryan's his own person. I've never spoken to Ryan Gable about this individual, Eric. I've never talked about it with him. to the best of my knowledge or recollection, never. So out of the blue today, this person, Eric, messages me and kind of says it's my responsibility to, stand up for him, because Ryan Gable is saying that he supports Nazis, and I'm not sure. I'm just this is what I was told. I don't know what the allegations are. And Eric's throwing around words like slander, and I better not slander him. So I'm just repeating what Eric told me, that apparently Ryan Gable said he supports Nazis and I'm supposed to do something about that. I don't know anything about this. But I have some idea, because Eric Hecker, besides being a so-called whistleblower for Dr. Stephen Greer, is also a militia member. And, we'll get into that. But before we get into Eric Hecker, let's get into one of the other so-called whistleblowers. And remember, Dr. Stephen Greer is saying that this is an historic event, but he's recycling old stories that were fake when he sold them the first time. And now he's going to recycle the stories, apparently. This is Dave Beatty on Twitter, who says, some foreshadowing about Dr. Greer's whistleblower. Here is one old story. Shannon Lee, 39 years old, U.S. Coast Guard veteran. During week 4 of basic training, he participated in the retrieval of a flying disc. He was a fireman E3 stationed on Guam. The retrieval is 1.7, a large saucer-shaped object from the ocean. He worked in a 180-foot buoy tender vessel. It was an object of 25 to 30 feet in diameter and perhaps 8 to 10 feet thick, and had a dull silverish color. They recovered it in the late afternoon and placed it on board the Coast Guard's deck. It was entangled in a fishing net and had to be cut off. Shannon said he hit it with a hand, and this deep thud sounded like it was hollow with an echo. He said it was seamless, no discernible rivets. It was recovered some 20 miles southwest of Guam's Alpra Harbor. Back at the pier, a large group of military and Air Force personnel were waiting. They basically wanted the Coast Guard personnel gone ASAP. The Coast Guard crew members were told to go to their executive officer. After debriefing, there was a Navy admiral and other Coast Guard officers present. The admiral may have been the commander of the Pacific Fleet at the time. The explanation was that it was an experimental Navy craft. Shannon C.O. Corson objected based on what he saw, but was ignored. They were then ordered to sign non-disclosure agreements. And the CO, or commanding officer, was angry they were lied to, and that hauling such a heavy object on board had been dangerous. Later, at the same base in Guam, Shannon befriended a special forces guy. Of course, that guy's not named. None of these military people are named, right? The man revealed to him that he spent 2 weeks on the moon, but didn't want to give details about it or the mission there. Shannon had never revealed this story until he spoke with Dr. Greer. Dr. Greer says ETs have a base on the moon and near the Marianas Trench. And the story, the credit for this story is Giorgio Piacenza. Dave Beatty says this guy was discredited, but it's a fun fictional story, just like the moon base, I'm afraid. By the way, I did not search for other Greer retelling of this story. I bet it's all over YouTube of his channel. And this person, FO Hex, chimes in and says, week 4 of basic, what? Doesn't make sense right off the bat. Week 4 of basic is doing push-ups until you eat dirt in Cape May, New Jersey. You didn't even receive orders to be stationed until week 5. Then you graduate week 8. Source, I'm the XO of the literal ship in the photo. So the person who is the XO of the actual ship in the photo in this story says this is a garbage story. This so-called whistleblower is a joke. And by the way, we covered this fake whistleblower before. And what Stephen Greer left out of the story is that this person talking about recovering this so-called alien spaceship was thrown out of the military for what? For selling drugs. He was selling psychedelic mushrooms on base. And he was thrown out of the military. So he's a disgraced former military person who was thrown out of the military for being a drug dealer. And this is the quality of Stephen Greer's so-called whistleblowers, right? This is the quality of the whistleblowers that we're going to get from Dr. Stephen Greer. And isn't it interesting that this person who's a so-called whistleblower is talking about, well, there was an admiral there. Great. What was the admiral's name so we can verify the story? We don't get that, right? All this top Air Force brass was there. Great. What were the names of the top brass Air Force people that were there so we can verify this story? Oh, you can't. Then he starts talking about this, the same guy who got thrown out of the military for selling magic mushrooms. He starts talking about, well, I met a special forces guy that spent a lot of time on the moon, right? This guy, this so-called whistleblower is just a wackadoo with a story. There's no evidence. There's no proof. There's no corroborating documents. There's no corroborating witnesses. Look, I'm sorry, but if you recovered a huge flying disc on a Coast Guard vessel and pulled it up onto the deck, there would be other witnesses to this event. There'd be people who could corroborate the story. And so far, nobody has corroborated the story. Nobody. None. There's nobody that corroborates this so-called whistleblower story. So why is it that we're supposed to believe Dr. Stephen Greer about anything when the quality of his so-called whistleblowers is some guy who got thrown out of the Coast Guard because he was selling magic mushrooms? Could maybe the fact that he was eating a lot of magic mushrooms while he was selling them have something to do with the fact that he's seeing flying saucers and he's going on secret missions during week 4 of basic training? Now, I'm not a military person, but I agree with that military person who says you do not get secret missions on week 4 of your basic training for the Coast Guard. This is laughable. And I just want to mention that we have to remember that the people that make money with Greer have been helping him hype this event. This is going to be another nothing burger, like all of Stephen Greer's nothing burgers, right? Lots of stories, right? Lots of stories, zero evidence, zero evidence. So this is one of the whistleblowers, I believe. I could be incorrect, but I believe this is one of Greer's 4 whistleblowers. But now that guy's going to be telling new stories because they already sold the old stories, and those old stories were pretty much proven fake, right? Or at least extremely in doubt because the guy got fired from the military for selling magic mushrooms. Dr. Stephen Greer's whistleblowers got fired from the military for selling magic mushrooms. You gotta love it, friends. You gotta love it. All right, and then, of course, we're going to get into this other whistleblower. Whoa, we want to thank Jason M. for a kind and generous $49.99 super chat. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support, helping us start the month off right. It is the beginning of the month. Thank you, Jason M., for your kindness, generosity, and support. And we've got My Flock is Everywhere with a kind and generous 99-cent super sticker, and also is a member. And we thank My Flock is Everywhere, Sarah, for being a member. Thank you all for your kindness. Thank you all for your generosity and for your support of the show and for helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Now, friends, we definitely have to get into this next person, a man named Eric Hecker. And we're going to start off with his website, which look, according to him, all the evidence of his claims are on his website. And like I said, I had a rather, okay, here we go. I had a rather heated exchange with this person. And to be very honest with you, I was not incredibly familiar with this person, but let's read his biography. And you know, this is from his very own website. So these are his claims. This is another of Dr. Stephen Greer's so-called whistleblowers. We won't call him a whistleblower. I'm saying these are so-called whistleblowers. And by the way, these stories from this person, Eric, he has been telling for, I think, 3 or 4 years on the internet already. I found 3 or 4-year-old interviews of him telling these stories. He was on Ryder Lee's show. He was on a bunch of different shows and podcasts telling his stories. But he's got a website. It's called Deciphering My Experience. And his name is Eric J. Hecker. Eric's biography says, currently residing in Alaska, Eric is a self-educated research investigator that takes from his many odd life experiences and connects with others. Now, here's where it gets to the point where I think this is a carefully constructed biography and narrative, because why even mention this? Eric was raised on Long Island, the home of the now famous Montauk Project. There's no proof that the Montauk Project was real, and it was largely about guys who like to have homosexual sex with each other, right? And that has been clearly established, but Eric wants to tie himself to the Montauk Project, so he mentions in his biography that he was raised at the home of the now famous Montauk Project. Great, but that doesn't mean anything to me. His childhood, this is his statement, his childhood included being part of the Stargate project run by the CIA DIA. And that is the psychic spy program you may have heard about, run by, and remote viewing program run by Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ at the so-called Stanford Research Institute, under contract of the CIA and the DIA. And we've talked about that project before, largely a nothing burger, wasted a lot of taxpayer dollars studying psychics and remote viewing. His biography goes on to say later he had experiences in the submarine service. Now, during our heated email exchange earlier, I asked him, what's the submarine service? Do you mean in the United States Navy? And he said, yes, of course. So I proceeded to ask him if he could verify his claims of Navy military service to me. And then he got very aggressive and started calling me names. I'm a shithead. I'm an idiot. I'm an asshole. And all those things may be true, but all I'm doing is asking him to verify his claims of Navy service. And then he started accusing me of slander for asking questions. And I just want to make sure that we are very, very clear in this. I simply asked this person, Eric Hecker, to verify the claims in his own biography, at which point he got very nasty, angry, and argumentative and started calling me all kinds of curse words. And in my experience, friends, if somebody is telling you the truth, they don't react that way when you ask them for proof of claims that are stated. This is his biography. He put this on the internet. He's saying that he was part of Project Stargate. He's saying that he was part of the United States Navy and the submarine service. So I asked him to provide proof of that. He says all the proof of everything he's ever said is in the archives section of his website. And we're going to get to that because that is a goddamn laugh riot. The so-called proof on his website is a laugh riot. Okay, so following that, the submarine service, he became a plumber for some of the wealthiest people in the world back on Long Island. So this guy's a plumber. This whistleblower is a plumber. Stephen Greer's whistleblower is a plumber. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with being a plumber. I got a lot of friends who are plumbers, carpenters, roofers, but it doesn't make you have access to secret information. But Eric kind of claimed that because he was working on wealthy people's toilets, they shared top secret information with him, right? And I find that very suspicious. I've had people here. Well, no, actually not at this house. I've had people at my old house working on my toilet. I didn't say, hey, Mr. Plumber, would you like to hear some top secret information that I got that you could share on your website or something or talk about on podcasts? It's absolutely ridiculous. Next, it says Eric took a contract to work at the South Pole Station for a year. And I'd be curious, was he a plumber there at the South Pole? They need plumbers for those research stations. I have a feeling this guy was a plumber. But, I have to ask him again when he gets done calling me a shithead for asking him for evidence of claims that he wrote in his own biography. Maybe I can ask him that question. I don't know if he was a plumber at the South Pole Station. And I'd also like to verify his claims on that. But he has no documents, no evidence. He's got pictures, though, I will say this. I believe that he was at the South Pole Station for some time because I have seen him post pictures and other things of the South Pole. I haven't verified that those pictures were taken by him or whatever. It's still a little gray. Always the avid researcher. It was not until Eric began working remotely throughout the state of Alaska. And see, this is where I don't understand, because he's saying he was part of a remote viewing project. And then later in his biography, he says he was working remotely throughout the state of Alaska. So does that mean he was remote viewing parts of Alaska, or just that he was working in the remote parts of Alaska? It's confusing. It's terrible wording. If you're going to say you were part of a remote viewing project, you probably shouldn't use the word remotely later in the biography so unclearly, but this is where we're at. He started making connections that his own life may not be what he thought it was. Now he is trying to help others see the things that things may not be what we were told. And of course, he wants you to donate to him on PayPal, support him on Patreon, or buy CBD products. And I don't really have any problem with that, but I just remember that this guy is monetizing his stories, right? We always have to keep that in mind. And I'm sorry, but I trust people who are not selling or monetizing their stories or experiences a lot more as far as being truthful. And just my experience, the people who are not monetizing, asking for donations, saying, join my Patreon, buy my book, buy my crap, are a little more believable to me because they're not trying to profit. Eric here is clearly trying to profit. He's going to be a paid person, I'm assuming, working for Dr. Stephen Greer. Now, this is where it gets crazy because I asked him if he could provide proof that he was in the Stargate project. And he said that all the proof is in the archive section of his website. And that is a real problem for him because literally, if we go to the archive section of his website, what he has is literally documents taken from, in some cases, we can see they were taken from the Black Vault. This is his so-called evidence or proof. Public documents that were taken from the blackvault.com. That's not evidence or proof that you were in a top secret psychic spy program. And that's all I'm saying. And by the way, this guy got extremely nasty, aggressive, and angry with me for just asking him for proof of the claims in his own biography. I find that incredibly suspicious. If the claims in his biography were true and somebody who has a show just says, hey, can you give me some proof of these claims? And then he starts calling you a shithead, right? And getting so angry and personal. Or was it that I called his bluff? And no one, to my knowledge or recollection, has called this man's bluff. I've heard people ask him for proof. He always says, it's on my website. But what we get on his website is a collection of documents that anybody can get on the blackvault.com or above topsecret.com or 100 other websites on the internet. These are all generic documents that he found on the internet and posted to his website. And by the way, I had to rush to try to read all of these documents before broadcast. And I believe that I did. And this man's name is not mentioned in any of these documents. So, you know, when he says he has evidence and he says he has proof of all of his claims and it's right on his website, and all he has is stuff that he downloaded from the blackvault.com that are generic. These are very generic things, stuff about Project Stargate. All of this stuff is on blackvault.com, above topsecret.com, and every place else. This is all documents that anybody can find anywhere on the internet. And none of these documents directly mention him by name or anything. So I'm a little confused as to why this is proof of your claims. But it gets even better, friends, because I'm going to show you one of the documents. Oh, how am I going to do this now? 1 second. Let me just, I got to put it somewhere else. Just bear with me, friends. I apologize. We'll put it on Twitter so that everybody can enjoy this garbage. This is one of the so-called top secret documents, right? Oh, it's not showing. All right, 1 second. 1 second. Let me see here. I'll share it this way. So one of the so-called secret documents that he's showing on his website, look at the top. It says classified as hell. And I'm sorry, but a real government document doesn't say classified as hell on the top of it. I'm going to say that one more time. One of the documents that he cites as proof of all of his claims, being in a psychic spy, I guess, in a secret psychic spy program for the CIA when he was a child, being in the United States Navy on submarines. He's talked about there's mind control devices at the South Pole. And then when you ask him for proof, I've heard him do this before. He says, all the proof is on my website. This is some of the proof on his website. A document that's supposed to come from the United States government that at the top of it says classified as hell. And, I'm no expert in top secret government documents, but I can tell you this much. The United States government does not put classified as hell on the top of any of their top secret documents or classified documents. That's not a classification. It doesn't go top secret, magic for magic eyes only. Oh, here, let me make that bigger so we can see that. It says classified as hell right on the top of the document. And this is his proof of all of his claims. He's got a secret United States document that says classified as hell on the top of it. And again, this is another of Dr. Stephen Greer's so-called whistleblowers. This is the quality of Dr. Stephen Greer's so-called whistleblowers. So far, we've identified and gone through some information on 2 out of 4 Dr. Stephen Greer whistleblowers, and it appears to me that they're both wackadoos. And by the way, I'm gonna share with you some of the email exchange. I'm not gonna share it on screen, but I think that all I did was ask him questions, right? All right, and I apologize because there's some really bad language in this. He says, I have a Ryan Gable claiming to me that you are his friend and co-host. I don't know where he got that. He's calling me a Nazi supporter. I hope you have the strength of character to correct his piss poor attacks on me. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Big rant. I just, I'm sorry. I told him he's not my co-host. He's been a guest on my show, and I've been a guest on his show. Wasn't aware of anything he said regarding you. But while I have you, what is the submarine service you mentioned in your biography? Do you mean the United States Navy or something else? Also, do you have the names of Greer's other so-called whistleblowers? He says, I was in the Navy. I am fine speaking. And then I asked him about speaking at Greer's event. I'm fine speaking at events. Some cost more than others, right? Feel free to get my info to as big as audience as possible. And then he complains about Ryan calling him a Nazi supporter. I said, I don't care about personal squabbles between you and anyone else. That's between you and Ryan Gable. He claimed that I was jealous of Stephen Greer. I said, I'm not jealous. All Greer has done is fill his pockets with the money of stupid people, and you are contributing to that. He says, I was checking to see if you were assisting this guy as he suggested. Glad you were not. Sorry, you feel the need to attack me in the process. And again, I'm not attacking him. I'm allowed to express my opinion that Dr. Stephen Greer is a garbage peddler, and people who help him sell stories to people with no evidence are assisting Greer in making money from very vulnerable people who desperately want to believe this stuff. I said, not coming at you, just stating facts. You're welcome on my show to defend your claims, but you better bring real evidence, not just stories. I'm just checking into all of Greer's whistleblowers. No offense, Eric. You are not a whistleblower, And unless you have real proof of your claims, you're just helping him sell stories which cannot be verified as real. Therefore, they have no value. You can save me the trouble of verifying your Navy claims by sending me your records. He says, your inability to understand facts and my experiences as presented will speak volumes of you. If I desire to go on your show, I will let you know. I have piles of photos and videos and documents to back up what I have said. Already have shared it with many others. You are certainly out of the loop. Feel free to attempt to slander me on your show. It would be your error, not mine. Just because you have not seen my evidence doesn't mean it was not presented or available to others. Then he says, I have documents on my archive section on my website for years that are going right over to your head. Sucks to be you, not me, Chief. I said, sure. Okay. I said, oh, I forgot. Care to comment on why there is zero evidence you were involved with Project Stargate? And here's where it gets good. He said that he was in Project Stargate. There's a list of everybody that participated in Project Stargate that was confirmed by Russell Targ, who ran Project Stargate with Hal Puthoff. Guess whose name is not on the list? I said, this list of participants was confirmed by Russell Targ. You are not on the list. The documents on the archive section of your website are all public information, stuff you got elsewhere on the internet or the blackvault.com. That is not proof of your claims. That is public information about conspiracies. If you're going to claim you were part of government projects, it's best to have some proof other than your stories. And here is where it gets good, because this is where he got pissed. This is where he started to get pissed and started calling me all kinds of names and cursing at me. And one might ask themselves, why would he do that? Well, I hit him with this. This is a list of every participant in that project that he claimed to be a part of at Stanford Research Institute. This list was provided by a man named Paul Smith, who was verifiably part of Project Stargate. And Russell Targ has verified that this list is accurate and correct, and that no one that isn't on this list was ever a part of Project Stargate. So here is the list of Project Stargate. We've got Hartley Trent, Ken Bell, Joe McMoneagle, Paul Smith, Mel Riley, Lynn Buchanan, Charlene Kavanaugh, Rob Cowart, Robin D., Davis Morehouse, Greg S., F. Holmes Altwater, Linda A., Gene Lessman, Tom M., Fern Gowan, Angela D., Gabriel Pettingell, Ed Dames, and Bill Ray. There's no Eric Hecker on the list of people who participated in Project Stargate. So, I asked him about this discrepancy, and that's when he started cursing at me. That's when things got really heated. Then he says, actually, going in the Greer direction has garnered me, this is a big claim, 2 2-hour meetings with the Senate Intelligence Committee to share my knowledge and facts. Could you have pulled that off for me? Have info that I am disclosing to benefit humanity, even you. Stay tuned and find out what have you been missing, cheese dick. What are we, 12 years old? I'm a journalist asking him to verify the claims in his own biography. He's calling me cheese dick. Great job, clown. Sure, I said, sure. Get me the names of the people you testify with at Congress so I can verify your testimony and testifying with them. Otherwise, it's more Greer stories, just like he briefed every sitting U.S. president since Ronald Reagan, except most dispute even knowing who he is, including President Trump and Vice President Vice President Pence, who he also claimed to brief. Then I talk about how Greer said he went on secret missions with Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top. He said an entire company in Michigan got murdered. Eric says, you want me to do the legwork for you. How much are you paying? Or are you looking to be a grifter? Then he says, so I guess you had Ryan engage with me and accuse me of being a Nazi supporter so you could have a new angle of attack on me and Greer. You are so lame. If you have issues with Greer, go ask him. Lame to ask me about him. If you have issues with me, go do your effing homework. If you think that info released on Stargate is complete, you are an idiot. Well, Russell Targ confirmed that's all the participants of Stargate. So you know, and then he says, stuff goes over your head a lot, and you are listening to guys covering things up. Simple. And enjoy the show from the peanut gallery. Then he calls me all kinds of more curse words and names, right? But this is very important. I said, so you refuse to answer any questions about your Stargate involvement. Russell Targ is denying you had any involvement. And why are you not on the list of participants, and yet you've refused to provide proof of your military service as well? That's fine, but let's be clear, Eric. I gave you an opportunity here to clear things up about both of those things, and you are refusing to do so, making excuses for evidence you said you have that you clearly do not have. He says, I'm not looking to engage with your topic, troll actions. I don't hang my hat on Stargate, but I do add it to my investigations. My website has the word deciphering in it for good reason, to warn off trolls like you while I read. So he said he has all this evidence. I keep asking him for evidence. He keeps calling me an idiot. All right, I may be an idiot, but you said you had evidence, Eric Hecker. Where's the evidence? You know, documents you got from the blackvault.com don't prove anything, bro. Where is the proof you were part of Project Stargate? Where is the proof you were in the Navy? Where is the proof of mind control devices in the South Pole? Where is the proof? He has nothing. He has nothing. He has documents from the Black Vault that are generic. I ask him, why are you getting so personal, Eric? He says, remember, if you attempt to slander me and I come out with the documents afterwards, you will show how dopey you are. Your move, Chief. I ain't scared, shithead. Right? Like, why does he keep cursing at me? This is the way a bullshitter reacts when you call them on their bullshit. A person who has real proof doesn't start doing this, in my experience. In my experience, a person that has made claims and has proof of it is very calm when you ask them for evidence, and they'll give it to you. But this man is having me go on, go on a scavenger hunt on my website and look at all these documents that I downloaded from the blackvault.com. That's my evidence, right? This exchange makes me believe you are a scumbag. Load your weapons and fire away, Stephen Cambion. Watch what happens when you do. I am ready for pieces of shit like you. Now hurry up and shut the F up, Stephen. And I said, again, Eric, all I'm doing is asking you to verify your years-old claims, which you have so far shown no actual evidence for. Evidence does exist, however, that you were never part of Project Stargate or had any involvement at Stanford Research Institute. I offered you an opportunity to explain that, and you resorted to personal attacks instead of just answering some basic questions or providing basic evidence. Best of luck to you, Eric. He says, hurry up or shut up. Start slandering and watch what happens. Asking questions, and then he closes with, I am ready for dickheads like you all day, Chief. Okay, look, all I did was ask the guy for evidence of the claims in his own biography. And what I get back is personal attacks, ad hominem attacks, this guy saying that I'm going to slander him. And let's be very clear. Asking questions is not slander. I'm not making statements here. I'm asking questions like, why aren't you on this list of the participants of Project Stargate that Russell Targ verified? That's everybody that was participated in Project Stargate. And if you're not on the list, and by the way, this is a problem. That's why Russell Targ and these people made this list, because there's a lot of LARPers running around saying they were part of Project Stargate that had no involvement whatsoever. So this list was made. Russell Targ verified. If you are not named on that list, you were not a participant of Project Stargate. End of story. Full stop. If you're not on that list, Eric, according to people in the know, you were not part of that program. Now, you can come up with some kind of conspiracies and bring in the Men in Black to erase your Stargate records and, do some mental gymnastics. Well, you were in a different part of the program that Russell Targ didn't know about, and there's all kinds of excuses. You can do that. if you choose to, Mr. Hecker. But again, I come back to this very important point. All of us at various times in our lives have had to confront a bullshitter, right? How do they react? Right? If people are telling the truth, do they calmly explain, a question you have or discrepancy you have? Or do they start yelling and screaming, getting pissed off and angry and react exactly the way that this guy reacted? Now, I'm not saying that he's lying. I'm saying he's reacting like a lying person would. All he has to do is send me his Navy records. All he has to do is send me evidence or proof that he was part of Project Stargate as a child. Or, hey, let me interview your parents. Why would your parents let you be a part of a CIA program when you were a child? Or did they not know about it because it was a secret project, right? There's so many holes in this guy's story. And this is another, let's be clear, this is another of Dr. Stephen Greer's so-called new whistleblowers. This guy's a whistleblower, a guy who yells and screams at a journalist when they ask him to verify his Navy. What? He didn't yell and scream at me because it's an email exchange, but it sounded like yelling and screaming to me. You go ahead and slander me, Stephen. Watch what happens to you, you dickhead. Right? Look, all I did was ask him to prove the claims in his own biography on his own website. And I'm the bad guy here, right? I don't know what I'm doing, or like, this is the ridiculousness of this. And by the way, the reason that I feel like he is full of it is because other people that I have confronted have reacted similarly. One person that comes to mind is Charles Hall. He started doing the exact same thing when I asked him for his Air Force records. He said, I don't have a need to know. You're an idiot. That's why the Air Force won't give you my records. No, somebody's involvement in the United States Armed Services is public record. Everybody is entitled to it. So Charles Hall did the same thing to me, start getting angry, threatening me, right? This guy is calling me all this stuff and cursing at me. Again, all I'm asking you for is proof of claims of the claims that you wrote. He wrote that in his own biography. I don't understand. But it is what it is. But we'll, just to review, we'll go back to the biography again. This is the guy's biography. He claims that he was part of Project Stargate, run by the CIA, DIA, right? Can we verify your employment with them, with the CIA and the DIA then, Eric? Come on, man. Later on, he had experiences in the submarine service. Following that, he became a plumber for some of the wealthiest people in the world. Well, that claim I don't even care about. Who cares how rich the people whose toilets you worked on were, right? That doesn't matter, but okay. And that he got a contract to work at the South Pole Station for a year, which may be true. There's lots of people that get a contract to work at the South Pole Station. Doesn't mean they have proof or evidence of mind control devices at the South Pole, and that's what this man's primary claim has been, right? And I'm also curious if he's a remote. I guess he's a remote viewer because he was part of Project Stargate, so he's got superpowers too. And I'd certainly love to give him an opportunity to. I'd like to give Eric an opportunity to test his remote viewing superpowers, right? And we've done this before. All of these people with superpowers love to say they have superpowers, but they never ever prove it. So here in a little box, 1 second, I have something commonly called a billet in the world of magic. It's just a little slip of paper, and it's folded up. And on this slip of paper is something. It could be a drawing. It could be a number, a word. I'm not going to give any clues. But if Eric Hecker can tell me what is on this billet of paper, and by the way, I scanned this and I emailed it to 5 people that I trust who will never reveal to Eric Hecker what is on this sheet of paper. If Eric Hecker can use his superpowers, because he was in Project Stargate, and tell me what is on this billet accurately, I will give him $10,000 in US dollars by PayPal the moment he identifies what is on this sheet of paper. And he's a remote viewer, right? He worked for the CIA on Project Stargate, and he's got superpowers, so he should be able to do that. $10,000, Eric Hecker. Or are you full of shit like every other fake psychic I've ever busted? Do you not know my history, bro? Another fake psychic downed by a magician. Stage magicians know how these clowns do their tricks. And he's not going to get anywhere near identifying what's on that sheet of paper. Do you know why? Because he can't use magic tricks on me, and he doesn't have real superpowers. And that's where we're at, and that's where we find ourselves. And by the way, I'm assuming, just to be clear, I'm assuming he's a remote viewer because he mentions being part of a remote viewing program and something about remotely doing something in Alaska. If I'm incorrect in that, I apologize. But I'm giving him an opportunity to use his super psychic powers that he, used in the CIA, right? And why do all of these guys attach themselves to so much UFO mythology that's already existing? Did you notice that he attached himself to Project Montauk for no reason whatsoever, right? Why would you do that? It's to sell a narrative, in my opinion. So this is one of Greer's new whistleblowers. And I got to tell you, I am severely underimpressed because Eric Hecker is not new. He's been bouncing around in conspiracy land telling the same stories for years, has yet to provide any evidence. Okay, he's got some pictures of the South Pole. That's not proof of mind control devices in the South Pole. It's not proof he was part of Project Stargate. It's not proof he was in the Navy on submarines. And for all I know, I could be completely and totally wrong. That's why I went to him and asked him for the evidence. That's why I went to him and asked him for the proof. But isn't it wonderful that we are now through 2 of the 4 of Stephen Greer's so-called new whistleblowers? Neither of them are new, and neither of them have proven anything they've said in years. But people are supposed to pay Greer big money to attend a conference, right? To hear these guys talk. I would strongly caution against anyone giving Dr. Stephen Greer a single penny. This man has made enough money selling garbage. He is a garbage peddler. He is another trash man of the world of aliens and UFOs. And we know he's a trash man of the world of aliens and UFOs. I don't care. I'm not impressed by how much money you make selling fake stories, right? The guy's made millions, right? I'm not impressed by people who make millions of dollars selling garbage. I'm not impressed with these whistleblowers. These whistleblowers are, let's just say, underwhelming, right? They're not blowing the whistle on anything. They're telling the same stories they didn't prove the first bunch of times they told them. Eric Hecker has been telling these stories on podcasts and live stream shows and on his own. I think he's got his own podcast, right? For years. Where's the evidence? You've had years to gather the evidence, Eric Hecker. There's no evidence. Show it. Prove me wrong. Show me proof of mind control devices in the South Pole. Show me proof of your military service. Show me proof you were part of a top secret CIA psychic spy program. Show me proof. And I will certainly retract anything that I've said that you object to or apologize. But until then, all I have done, Mr. Eric Hecker, is asked you for the evidence of your very own claims. And you have responded by aggressively insulting me, cursing at me, right? Claiming I'm slandering you. Questions are not slander, sir. Untrue statements are. I'm just asking you questions. And let's be very, very clear. All I'm doing is asking this man to provide evidence or proof of the very claims that he himself wrote and put on a public website. I did warn him, however, that his association with Greer is going to bring a lot of increased scrutiny. And I believe that no one could argue with that. If you start taking money and speaking fees and appearing at Dr. Stephen Greer's events, more people are going to start fact-checking your claims, Eric Hecker. So if you can't handle me before this event even begins, and you get so upset and frazzled that you got to start cursing at me 10 times in an email and telling me how stupid I am and how I'm slandering you, then you're in for a wild ride, because wait until you start speaking at Greer conferences and everyone in this thing starts digging into your background, starts digging into your claims, starts fact-checking your very own claims, starts reviewing everything you've ever said for the past 3 years and fact-checking it. If you've got a problem with me, bro, you're going to have some real problems going forward. I think you better develop a little thicker skin, and you better update your website with probably better. You better update your website with better information than government top secret documents that you claim that are labeled at the top of them classified as hell. This document is classified. It ain't just classified. This document is classified as hell, bro. This is your proof. This is your evidence. Greer and all of his fake whistleblowers are a goddamn clown show. And how dare anyone help him sell this level of garbage to people, right? Have you seen what that event costs? Oh, we're going to get into that next. Have you seen what this event costs, right? We're all supposed to give Greer an awful lot of money. And look at the level of his so-called whistleblowers. And you know what? I'm glad that this man messaged me today, because I should do this before the event so that people are warned and they do not waste money on Dr. Stephen Greer's historic disclosure conference. And here's where it gets confusing too. Here, let's share this from Dr. Greed's website. Oh, sorry, wait a minute. That's not it. That's it. And isn't it great that Dr. Stephen Greer has made millions of dollars and he's still trying to get free lawyers? Attention, all pro bono attorneys and other legal professionals. If interested in joining the team, please complete this form or email the following: disclosurelegal@gmail.com. He wants free lawyers to do legal work for him. The guy's a millionaire, and he's asking for lawyers to work for free for him. You know why? So he can keep all those disclosure dollars to himself, right? Attend the official announcement of this project at the National Press Club. Be there in person. So get ready to have your mind blown by the jaw-dropping witness testimony at the upcoming conference. We've only scratched the surface of what's in store for you. Brace yourself for revelations that will challenge everything you thought you knew about UFOs and UAPs. I wonder if Dr. Stephen Greer is going to tell everybody before this Eric Hecker gets up, that Eric Hecker has no evidence of any of the claims in his own biography. We showed you this. Contractor stationed, this is Eric Hecker. Pardon me. Eric Hecker is a contractor stationed at the South Pole, had an incredible encounter witnessing a neutrino light array used to track UFOs. This testimony will make you question everything you thought you knew. And I'm going to ask Eric Hecker, what is a neutrino light array? Because I looked it up and I can't find what that is. I did find something like that in the Star Trek Wikipedia, right? Neutrino light array used to track UFOs. And you've got the coordinates of that, right? And we can find it on Google Maps, right? Because you're telling the truth, right, Eric Hecker? Or is this just another story with no evidence? And I don't know. I got to ask the physicist friend what a neutrino light array is. It sounds like science fiction gobbledygook to me. Don't miss this exclusive opportunity to be among the first to hear the truth about the world's most compelling mysteries, right? And then Michael Schratt is there. All right, so let's look at what it costs. What does it cost? Ticket packages. Conference package, $4.99 a person. Includes all Saturday and Sunday sessions from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., plus the screening of Dr. Greer's newest documentary, The Lost Century, which, by the way, is a documentary Dr. Stephen Greer raised $600,000 to make about free energy. And the person who Dr. Greer is talking about a lot in that documentary and the device does nothing. It doesn't work. It's a nothing burger. And not only that, but Dr. Stephen Greer previously raised over $500,000 to create a free energy device, and then he delivered nothing. So Dr. Stephen Greer has made $1.1 million, or grossed, let's just say he grossed $1.1 million, talking about free energy, promising to build a free energy device and open source it, but then never did, and now to make a documentary, count up the cash, $1.1 million. Great job, Dr. Greed. Conference package, National Press Club event, $5.99 a person. What do you get? You get National Press Club event. And by the way, I'm press. Can I just go to the National Press Club and be a part of the conference? I have a press pass. That'd be interesting. VIP conference package is $1,500 a person. I love this too. The special fundraiser is $5,000 a person. This package includes VIP package plus exclusive fundraiser dinner. Oh, you get to go to dinner with Dr. Greer and his close staff on Saturday evening, June 10th. But listen, it's $5,000, but I love this. A larger donation would be much appreciated. What donation? Why is it a donation? You're not a goddamn charity, Stephen Greer. If you wish to donate and participate at this level, $5,000 a person. And let's be very clear, what is it that you're getting for your money? You're getting to hear people who, if you ask them for evidence or proof of the claims in their own biography, not the claims they're going to be making at this event, just the claims that the guy wrote in his own biography, you get called a shithead, right? I'm not giving you any evidence, you shithead. Right? Well, look, Greer is charging people up to $5,000 to hear this guy's stories. I think that he should at least prove the claims in his own biography before Greer is allowed to charge that much money. It's a great business. UFOs is a great business, friends, right? Low end of the packages, $500 a person. High end of the packages, $5,000. But hey, you get to go to dinner with Dr. Stephen Greer for the $5,000. And the quality of the so-called whistleblowers. Let's review. We've got a guy, Eric Hecker. He's one of the whistleblowers who claims that, and that's been verified by Eric Hecker. He is one of the whistleblowers. So we've got Dr. Stephen Greed with his new whistleblowers, one of them being Eric Hecker, who claims that he was a psychic spy and part of the Stargate program, but his name's not on the Stargate list that Russell Targ and others have said, if you're not on the list, you did not participate in the program. He has absolutely no evidence that he worked for the CIA or the DIA or any of that. I asked him for proof of his military service claims. Crickets, right? I'm not doing the legwork for you. How much are you going to pay me? I've never once in my life had somebody who was really in the military react that way. They might say, I did have one person once say, I'm not digging out my records. Go to the National Personnel Records Center, Steve, and you could get them. Might take some time, but you can get them. I'm not doing that for you. Which is a perfectly reasonable thing for somebody to say. But that's not what he said. He refused to give me any proof of his Navy military claims, right? He refused to give me any proof that he was in a CIA project. that he's not on the list. His name's not on the list. His name is just not on the list, friends. And we'll review that one more time, just so that people understand. Right? 1 second here. So he claims that he was in Project Stargate, but there is a list of all the participants of Project Stargate. Guess whose name is not on the list? Russell Targ and others have confirmed if you're not on this list, you weren't in Project Stargate. You weren't there. He won't explain this. He will curse at me a lot. And let's also review another one of the whistleblowers. This has not been confirmed yet, is the Coast Guard guy who got fired from the Coast Guard for selling everybody magic mushrooms. He's seeing spaceships. He was seeing spaceships in the water while he was selling everybody magic mushrooms. I believe that is another one of Greer's so-called whistleblowers. So now it appears that we may have identified 2 of 4 of Greer's, quote, new whistleblowers. And if these 2 are, we know one is, we know Eric Hecker verifiably is one of the so-called whistleblowers. He's not a whistleblower. He's not a whistleblower. And this other guy, Shannon, who was Coast Guard, we have not verified 100% that he's one of the other whistleblowers, but I do have a source that said, yes, he is. Take from that what you will. It might be rumors and speculation, but it might be true that that's another one of Greer's whistleblowers. And if true, that would mean that 2 of the 4 of Greer's whistleblowers are wackadoos with no evidence and no proof. One of which was seeing flying saucers in the water while he was selling people magic mushrooms and maybe eating too many of them himself, and who got fired from the Coast Guard for being a drug dealer. Very credible whistleblower. And the other one is a guy who claims he was part of a secret project, but his name is not on the list of all the participants, and he won't provide any evidence or any proof that he was actually in the military, right? But what he will do is tell you that all the evidence and proof is on his website. But when you ask him for that evidence or proof, he just sends you to his website. And what we get is documents like this. This is quality whistleblower documents. This is a United States document that he has on his website. And at the top of it, it says classified as hell. Great, great. If this is 2 of Greer's whistleblowers, I would say this: busted, busted, absolutely busted. So I would strongly caution anybody, before you plop down hard-earned money to hear these so-called new whistleblowers. And by the way, if these 2 are 2 of his 4 whistleblowers, neither of these are new. Eric Hecker's been telling these stories for 3 or 4 years. No evidence. I haven't seen any. He says he has lots, and he's going to make me look stupid. Okay. All right, Eric. And by the way, Eric, pictures of you at the South Pole is not evidence, right? I mean evidence of your actual claims. Navy records, proof you were stationed on submarines, proof you were in a CIA project, right? And we're going to have to interview your parents to find out why they let a child be a part of a CIA program, right? And you're claiming there's mind control devices in the South Pole that you witnessed or whatever. We need to see, evidence of that. And pictures of you hanging out at the South Pole are not evidence. It's not proof, right? So it is what it is. These are Greer's so-called new whistleblowers, both of which have been banging around conspiracy land for years now. Never proved their last stories. But hey, that won't stop Dr. Stephen Greed from using these 2 non-whistleblowers, claiming they're whistleblowers. We are rapidly approaching, this is so bad and so deceptive that this rises, in my opinion, to the level of fraud. If you're saying, plop down your $500 and you're going to hear from 4 whistleblowers, new whistleblowers, and they're not whistleblowers, and 2 of them, it appears, aren't new, this is a problem. This is a real problem. And, I don't know what makes it a jump from just being a dishonest grifter to being actual criminal level of fraud. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a law enforcement officer. I'm just expressing my opinion that this is so slimy, so deceptive that I don't believe that Greer should be allowed to take people's money for this level of garbage. That is my opinion, and I am entitled to it. All right, friends. So we have concluded tonight's first part of our presentation. But boy, do I got another one for you. We've got a new segment here, which I'm just calling the Wackadoo of the Week. We have previously covered James Rink, who interviewed not one, but two. I got to figure out a way to do it. He interviewed not one, but two people who got arrested for child-related offenses. The P word. You know what that word is. YouTube doesn't like it. And we are getting lots of our streams demonetized when I say that word. You can't say the R word either, apparently, and you can't say the P word. So at least that's what I'm hearing. James Rink runs something called Super Soldier Talk. And it is into the land of wackadoo we go, friends. But before we do that, we have to recognize some people. I've been monitoring the live chat, and I apologize. We've got a bunch of super chats that we have to call out. For those unaware, we read every single super chat, and we thank every single person who sends any support, whether through PayPal or if you become a channel member, we shout you out. Gunslinger says, I held security clearances for 25 years, and I didn't know jack about UFOs or anything like this because I had no need to know. Thank you, Gunslinger, for your kindness, generosity, and support, and that is a very good point. Gunslinger with another one says, Greer, there's nowhere to run to, nowhere to hide, because I know your secrets. I know your lies. Well, thank you, Gunslinger. I appreciate it. And we've got Selena G. From Mike and Selena. Oh, the birthday guy. Hello, Mike and Selena. So good to see you still watching. And thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. I hope that Mike had a happy birthday. And I hope Selena helped him get lucky, right? He's already a lucky guy. Have you seen this dude's girlfriend? What a lucky guy. Congratulations, Mike. And thank you, Selena. Both of you guys for your kindness, generosity, and support. And we've got Zizix with a kind and generous $2. Thanks for that, and thanks for being a member. His name is in the micro dot on the paper. Yes, that's where the proof is. It's in the micro dot. Yes, and all right, I apologize. I'm very far behind in the chat, but I'm going to try to get all caught up before we proceed with our next segment, which is the weekly Wackadoo of the Week. Wait till you hear this, girl. I could not believe this. Okay, so we're caught up. Thank you all for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. We thank you all, and we appreciate all of you. I'll be reading the PayPal pledges at the end of the show. The instructions on how to do that are in the description of the video. We thank all of you for your kindness, generosity, and support. If you send a PayPal pledge, just add a note and give me your chat room user ID. And thank you all for helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your generosity. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right. We thank all of you. What a kind and generous crowd that we have. Also, I want to mention, yesterday was my birthday, and it wasn't because I was just, being lazy because it was my birthday, but I forgot to upload the monthly show journal. I got it done, forgot to upload it. Yesterday, my son had a sort of allergic reaction to super high pollen count. He has very bad asthma. My wife had to take him to urgent care, and it was this whole thing. And we had to cancel birthday plans so that he could get medical attention. He's doing great. He's doing fine. He was home all day resting. We decided to just keep him home because it's another high pollen day. But anyway, I'm a day late and $1 short on the monthly show journal. I'm going to upload it late tonight. And I apologize for that. So you Patreon supporters and channel members will be getting that later tonight. And we thank you all for your kindness, generosity, and support. And here's Ian We're going to be back. We're going to be right back with the Wackadoo of the week. And I'm telling you, you do not want to miss this Wackadoo, because this lady is everything. She's a galactic slave trader. She's a cyborg assassin. She's married to a Nordic alien and more. And we're going to bring it to you, the Wackadoo of the week, when we come right back, friends.
Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Wonderful people like you who enjoy this show send pledges in the form of super chats, super stickers, super thanks, PayPal, or Cash App. Instructions for how to help are in the description. You can also join our Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month you can get extra content. Patreon supporters get a backstage pass, early access to all our production videos before they are distributed publicly, Stephen Campion's music, private writings, a monthly show journal, and more. You can also become a YouTube channel member for $5 a month. A YouTube membership includes all of the Patreon benefits, plus a special members badge, priority reply to video comments, and the live chat, plus a monthly members only video. We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, for supporting Truthseekers. Thank you for your generosity and support. Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Now there's a great way to support these broadcasts and show your support. Please be sure and check out our merchandise store. Links to our 2 merchandise online stores are in the links to this video or podcast. The Amazon storefront ships super quickly in the United States, Great Britain, and many more places. Amazon may not ship to your country or location. If that's the case, hit our second merchandise link in the description and visit our Redbubble storefront. Merchandise from our Redbubble storefront ships worldwide, but may take longer than Amazon. We've got a great deal of super high quality merchandise for you to choose from, including t-shirts, phone cases, sweatshirts, and even pillows. The feedback from our products have been overwhelmingly great. Quality products and fast shipping. People all over the world are buying some merchandise and showing their support of the show. Praise the cash! Praise the cash! Praise the cash! We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, who are buying some merchandise and helping us to continue this journey. Thanks for being here. This is Truthseekers with your host, Stephen Campion. Please rate, like and comment on our videos or podcasts. If you are listening to an audio podcast, please rate us 5 stars to help us rise in the search rankings. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment and subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to an audio podcast, we love and appreciate you listeners, but you are missing the live tapings. All our shows are recorded live with video feed. We'd love you to come be a part of our live broadcasts and tapings for the podcast. Head on over to YouTube, click the search tool, the little magnifying glass, put Truthseekers, one word in the search bar, and hit enter. You'll see a strange and mysterious guy with sunglasses. That means you found the channel. Go there, smash the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to receive up-to-date info on our YouTube channel. We welcome you to be a part of our live taping and our chat room during the live broadcasts. Seek the truth. Speak the truth. This is Truthseekers. Truthseekers. Truthseekers.
Okay, welcome back, friends. And we are ready for our new segment on the show. This should be a repeating segment because there's plenty of them out there. And that new segment, we're going to just call it the Wackadoo of the Week. So if you have suggestions for the Wackadoo of the Week for these segments, please do email me at truthseekershow@gmail.com. Also, you can DM me. My DMs are open at Twitter. And it's at Stephen Cambion, just my name right there, at Stephen Cambion on Twitter. And you can offer me some suggestions. Now, somebody suggested this one to me, and as soon as I heard the claims that this girl was making, I was all in on her being our first contestant on Wackadoo of the Week. And this girl claims to be, among other things, many, many more things. I checked her Telegram. You know she's a quality wackadoo when she's on Telegram and not Twitter or anything else. She is a Tibetan meditation expert. She is a multi-dimensional galactic experiencer. So I guess she travels through different dimensions, I think. She is an intuitive seer and channeler. So she's got superpowers. She is a trained cyborg assassin. I'm going to say that one more time. She is a trained cyborg assassin. She's also been involved in the galactic slave trade. She is a Nazi moon base survivor, and she is the wife of a Nordic alien. Now, we're going to put our fair use banner up here because, after all, this is a transformative work. And we're educating the public about some of the claims being made out there in conspiracy land in some of the more woo channels like James Rink's Super Soldier Talk. And for those unaware, James Rink has gotten caught twice now interviewing people who got arrested for child-related offenses. We're going to leave it at that. They were the P words. Along with Journey to Truth, they got caught interviewing one of the same two. And not only that, but now James Rink is apparently interviewing underage people without their parents' knowledge or consent. I'm going to say that one more time. James Rink has been caught interviewing 2 adult males who were arrested for child-related offenses. And then James Rink recently interviewed an underage child, apparently or allegedly, without their parents' knowledge or consent. That's a problem, but it is what it is. We're going to get to this. One second. Let me get it up here. That sounded terribly dirty. One second. Let me get it up here.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Super Soldier Talk. Today is April 10th, 2023. So here we are, 2023, and we still haven't got our full disclosure yet, but there's lots of work to do, and that's why we have Rebecca Rose here to share her amazing story of being a experiencer.
This is a great one.
Multi-dimensional galactic experiencer in the secret space program. And thank you all the listeners also for coming on here today. I know this is short notice. We had plans of having this all scheduled, hashed out a couple of days ago, but because of Easter and all that, everything got set back. But it doesn't matter. We're going to have a great show to hear today. All right. And thank you also, Rebecca, for coming on here. How are you doing today?
Hey, it's awesome.
By the way, this is Rebecca Rose is her name.
2020. So it's great to be here and to have actually met at the graphing conference last year is even better. Mm-hmm. So good to be here.
Yeah. So that is coming up this year in April. I think it's
probably speaks
22 to
too.
25th.
Yes.
I think so. Go check the description section of this video. It's the Journey to Truth conference in Grafton, Illinois, and go get yourself a ticket. The hotel is actually sold out, but there's still rooms.
You too can attend a conference run where this guy speaks, who has interviewed people arrested for child-related offenses, and Journey to Truth, who has also interviewed people related for child-related offenses. Sure, go to a conference with those people. And James Rink is also interviewing underage children without their parents' knowledge or consent, allegedly.
For still room for purchasing a ticket for this conference, and also probably a meal plan there too. So, okay, great. And
I don't know, Brandy. I would
go ahead and
be ashamed of myself.
What's your bio?
He's going to read her bio
Rebecca
now.
Rose is a multidimensional galactic experiencer currently serving the collective with her work as an intuitive seer and channel. As a lifelong contactee, she was originally targeted for her desirable psychic attributes. She was taken to work in a multitude of dark programs from her earliest years, a path that was facilitated by her family members working in the deep state. In her last interview, she mentioned that her father worked for Lockheed, and yeah. So after abductions to work, I guess she worked for the Germans on the moon. She was sent to Montauk and survived. Today, we're also going to be going to some of that Montauk timeline. Further, my lab experiences landed her on Mars, where she was engineered as a cyborg and weaponized for Mars Defense Force. She was trained as a pilot, a killer, cloned many times. She was eventually sold to the Draco Empire. In the outer reaches of the solar system beyond the Kuiper belt, she was tasked with patrolling a galactic slave trade hub commandeered by the Draco and protecting a significant planetary portal on Planet X. I guess that's under the Merchant Marine Fleet. She can explain more about that. As an adult recovering from years of dehumanizing SSP involvement, Rebecca credits her strong meditation practice as her main healing ally. Trained in the ancient spiritual traditions of Tibet, Rebecca engages in silent sitting practices and inner energy work that have assisted the return of her memory and putting pieces of her life back together. She also does these sessions for other people, and we're going to go that just a bit. But from the vantage point of the soul and the perspective of deep healing, Rebecca says, I came here for this. I know I came to explore the deepest, darkest, and most savage belly of the beast so that I could experience it firsthand and be part of its undoing.
Oh, very dramatic. And people are asking me a lot of questions. Zizix with a kind and generous $2. Thanks for the super chat and praise the cash. He says, is he on lifetime parole? I'm not aware of any of his criminal, any criminal past or convictions or anything like that. I haven't looked into him. And that one, I don't know. We'll get into it. The rink equals stink. Yes, Chuck dates her. Thanks, Zizix. Yes. Everyone's relatives work for Lockheed. Yes. I wonder how much money he makes on this grift too. Interestingly, I don't think that his videos on YouTube are monetized, but that's probably because he knows that they would all instantly be demonetized. Maybe. I don't know.
Rebecca also has a vast array of helpers from many different realms assisting her. Her light family includes a Nordic mate from Procyon, an indigenous mother and father from a previous lifetime with the Crow people, and through her own experience.
Wait, we got to slow this down because this woo is getting thick already. So she's got a Nordic alien mate. I guess she bangs a Nordic alien. This girl's banging a Nordic alien, according to her. And she's got parents from the Crow Federation. What the hell is that? I don't even know. I don't know what that is.
Continual work with higher energies. She's been given the resources to assist others in recovering from their own most horrifying experiences, bring light to darkness. So visit Rebecca's website at RebeccaRoseBarfoot.com. And so you can also sign up for a session. Apparently, I guess you're booked till July now.
I'm booked almost into July, but I'm available. Yeah. Yeah.
So this girl who is all these things gives psychic readings, and she's booked until July. And this is weeks ago. This interview took place.
Yeah. Thank you, James. Yeah. Good to be here. Like I said.
Thank you for coming on here today. So I guess going back to the galactic slave trade, was that actually Merchant Marine Fleet that you were with, or is this something entirely else different?
I've never had it come back to me in my memories as a
Thanks, Space Kitty.
Per se. No, I was, we can talk about this. In the moon, the German base on the moon was at that time, this is back in the 70s. I'm 50 now. So this is a long time ago, but at the time it was a slave trade hub. And as was the Planet X and the Kuiper Belt, where I was owned by the Draco, was also the same thing. So
she was owned by a Draco reptilian.
Well, how about, so, in our last interview, it was a little more informal. We were just having more of a discussion, but this time I'd like to allow you to speak more. But maybe could you tell us a little bit about maybe
her name is Rebecca
galactic
Rose.
Slave trade? Maybe you could describe some of the slave markets if you've ever been to one. What it's like, how they, I don't know. I want to start with that.
Okay, we're just diving into that. Well, yeah. So my familiarity with slave trade I think we could talk about it as part of my mission. Like I came here to explore. I have a higher avatar on a galactic ship, you know, in I guess tandem time, right? And from that avatar, I created here, incarnated here, to in fact to learn more about the slave trade. We wanted to understand more about what was going on within the bowels of that. And again, a long time ago, I think a lot of that has dissipated, and things are not as degraded and depraved as they were at that particular time in the 70s and 80s. But my familiarity, like I said, is from working in the German base when I was little, and working directly as
I'm going to say something. Look, there's enough to make fun of. Let's try to stay away from making fun of the girl's appearance if we could, because I think that's a little much, you know. Her name is Rebecca Rose, by the way.
The psychic operative with beings they had in captivity there, and they were making clones, experimental beings, and a lot of different hybrid type of beings. So humans were involved in the slave trade, trading with human hybrids and human
I agree,
DNA,
Charles, and thanks for being a member.
ET type beings, beings I couldn't even have any names for, that were captive to the Germans at that time, and also the connection to Dulce as well. So I didn't have a need to know or need to be in the market.
And isn't it interesting that this girl's story confirms already existing mythology, like Montauk Project, like there's a Nazi base on the moon? Yeah, I saw that movie too. It was called Iron Sky, but okay. You know, and she's talking about galactic slave trading, which is kind of strange, but okay.
Market or the trade process, or at you know, a bartering negotiating table, you know, so to speak. I was little, I was a kid, I was under their influence. I was operated by them, but I would not have had the status to really know the inside of all of that in this, maybe in the way you're thinking of. Yeah.
Well, maybe you could you describe a little bit more about the mechanics, but I mean the reasons why the trade itself.
Yeah.
So, for instance,
sure.
They're trading us. We are the product.
They're trading us.
What are they getting in return?
Well,
So
she's an
Right.
expert.
Yeah.
She's an expert in the galactic slave trade for anybody who is paying attention here.
I mean, it's all, I mean, you've talked about this probably 1,000 times on this channel. DNA is the currency of everything, DNA technology, but through beings. I mean, when I was on the moon, I was, you know, the Germans, the Greys, and the Draco were there. I was mostly interfacing with the Draco to get my orders and to be trained by the Draco. And the Draco always seemed like they were the honchos of everything going on. Wherever the Draco are present, I have found that they are the top dog. That's it. And they were building an empire.
Probably.
You know, I
And
think
welcome to
also
OG.
involving
Nice to see you.
adrenochrome back in the day. This is again a long time ago, but making the Draco rich was one of the things that was going on.
Oh, they're doing adrenochrome trading too, further confirming already existing stories in conspiracy land. Nothing original so far.
That's what I saw. I mean, just speaking from my own experience, like what is the point of this? You know, trading humans, human parts, human endocrine system secretions, and like I said, the clones and the hybrids and all of that, to other races. And I don't know if I can fully unpack that. I mean, off world, out of the solar system, way beyond what the human mind can fathom. You know, when I was owned by the Draco out on Planet X, that hub was, I don't have human language. To describe how big it was, how powerful it was, and how much was going on there, which was why they needed so many assets to protect their investment in that whole market. So on the moon, I guess we could talk about the moon. My job on the moon, I mean, I was 4 years old when I was initiated into all of this by the Draco, and they took me to the moon back and forth from I was raised in New Hampshire. And they brought me back and forth at night. And this was not the start of the 20 and back. So this seemed more.
I always wonder what kind of abuse experiences these people experienced as a child, because so many of them, well, I started in the secret space program when I was a child, and they took me back and forth. Did you hear it? You notice that?
To be
it's kind of sad.
I would say an experimental program. And I think they were getting my body adjusted to something, my biology. adjusted so I could later work the Dulce jump gate that connected the moon and
Definitely like
Dulce.
smoke orbs.
But like I said, they kind of broke me in slowly there.
So look, we're only 9 minutes in, and so far, this girl has mentioned adrenochrome, Nazi bases on the moon, the Montauk Project, and now Dulce base. All of these things are accepted UFO mythology that she could have read about on the internet. And so I'm always suspicious when these people are so unoriginal in their stories. That's all they're doing is like combining and regurgitating already existing stories from the internet.
Using me to psychically interface with the beings that they had in captivity.
I think you're right.
And I was supposed to be stealing their information, or we could say taking a snapshot of their DNA and their biological markers and dimensional, how do we say, like,
Yeah, she is using 20 and back
their
too.
unique dimensional stamp or timestamp, we could say, and taking all that information through my awareness, my consciousness.
Thanks, Scott.
And
Glad you had a
relaying it
nice
to
dump.
central database. But I always felt like with them, I was meant to befriend the beings, but also to betray them. And it's a mark that's still in me, like this, a kind of programming to, it's like the victim perpetrator programming, the aversion.
I know,
I, as
right?
a victim, was feeling like I was the perpetrator, like doing bad things. And you know this, that's one of the main programs that they're instilling in us, mind control programs, that the victim will always blame themselves and never get out.
Well, you are also,
what's
yes.
been done to them. So I always felt really
It's the
bad, even
wackadoo
as
of the
a little
week. What do you
4, 5,
expect?
6-year-old kid, what was happening, and going in there and befriending these beings.
Yes,
that were
I'm
in
aware,
captivity
Cynthia. Many people
for
sent
all
me
this
that. I
dark
tried to get an interview
processes,
from him.
that the Germans
do
and the
it.
Draco and the Greys were doing to them, and then turning against them, like to be made to befriend them.
I
and then,
agree.
yeah, absolutely, to betray them. So over time, how do I say this? In my early time of talking, maybe in the interview that you and I
Could be,
had a few
Patty.
years ago, like,
But she's taking people's money
I
for
didn't
psychic
know
readings.
that I was being sent to Dulce. And I would describe like these cages and this dim light and this orange glow and this stench and the filth and the feeling of being in hell realm. As I described it as, like, this sounds a lot like what I've heard coming out of Dulce, New Mexico. But I didn't know that that was actually what I was describing, because the process of going through that jump gate felt so seamless in a way, from the moon, the German base on the moon, into Dulce. It was like going, it felt to me, as it comes through my memory,
It
it was
is.
like going into
The Wookiees were slaves.
the next room of my home. I'm sure it must have been a little more complex than that, but to my child's mind, a child drugged and controlled in a certain way, like, I didn't know the difference. And so that came to me, those memories came to me in the time after you and I last spoke. And it explained a lot to me
Strange
about
Recon
the
is
memories
here.
I was having, and the breadth and depth of that.
We're starting a new segment here, Strange Recon. This is the wackadoo of the week. And this girl is a Tibetan meditation expert, a multidimensional galactic experiencer, intuitive seer and channeler. She is a galactic slave trader, the wife of a Nordic alien, a Nazi moon base survivor, a Dulce base survivor, a Montauk survivor, and also she's a cyborg assassin. But not just a cyborg assassin, she's a trained cyborg assassin.
Of Dulce was something that you could wander around in there forever, down in that I call the dungeon, and never know the beginning and the end of what was happening down there with the Greys. And I never saw humans other than human captors. They wanted the tunnel, the cargo from the tunnel, the supply, human supply from the tunnels, right? But I never saw humans in charge. They might have been on the upper levels. But the memories there are pretty, I mean, it's dark and it's
Yeah, she
disturbing.
still needs
and I just
headphones. Why
remember
doesn't she use her
smell
cyborg
and
ears?
Keeping my kind of face averted. So do you have you want any
Trader.
clarifications up to that point, James?
Not
Yeah,
trader.
you gotta explain.
Trader.
Tell us
She
how
traded slaves.
old you were and why
Mhm.
why were you at Dulce?
Right. Yeah. I was a little older, so they started taking me to my first objections were to go to be with the Germans and the Draco on the moon. And the Dulce started later. It was probably around, let's see, 7, 8, around that time period. 6, 7, 8. And it was, they wanted the child's frequency. So, in my understanding, and just a sort of soundbite on how does this is oversimplifying, but I would say, how does a jump gate work? It's compressing space and time. But if a certain frequency range is maintained for the gate, they could lose cargo, precious cargo, let's say, in interdimensional space, right? So they need, and because it's so dense, like
I agree,
it's very degraded what they're bringing up to the moon to be traded off world from Dulce, right? And they need a child's, I want to say, like an innocence frequency to help maintain a certain, like a frequency range within the gate, so it'll
sounds
operate
like
properly.
It to me, Mr. Ian.
And like I said, I touched on this just briefly, that
yeah, show us your
cyborg to me that
parts.
I didn't understand for a long time. Why were they taking me back and forth to the moon from my home, abducting me at night over the years? I think it was to train my biology.
And
because I was
strange recon. One of the things that I noticed about these people is there's never anything original. It's like they read every conspiracy book or watched like 100 hours of conspiracy shows, and then they just cherry pick. Oh yeah, I was at Dulce Base. Oh yeah, I was part of the Montauk program. Oh yeah, I was on that Nazi base on the moon you may have heard about. It's like their proof is that, oh, those conspiracy stories you already heard? I'm going to confirm them all for you. It's a little suspicious to me.
In a ship, I would go into a substation to get to the moon. And it can be hard on the body. I mean, human biology is not, cellular biology is not meant to be.
Could be. She needs mental health.
It's meant for Earth, right? But I think all of those back and forth trips to the moon,
sometimes they lose the slaves.
Biology to withstand the rigors of going back and forth through that gate. Again, it's going to be it'd be extremely hard on adult biology, but I think because children they're still porous. If you think about a small child, they're not, when I look at it psychically, they're
usually somebody's lying when they look to the right when they're talking.
Their biology. They're not entirely formed yet. And so I don't want to say quite that it's easier on a child's physiology, but in effect, relative to an adult body, it would be a little bit easier, and a child could withstand that back and forth. So I was basically an escort for cargo. Is a pretty sterilized word. I mean, bodies, body parts, hybrids, clones, and so on that were coming up from Dulce.
Oh, we got clones now.
Yeah. Does that make sense, James?
Yeah, we got lots of questions.
Genetic
Let's start with, did you ever witness Nightmare Hall? And maybe you can also describe if you saw any aliens down there in Dulce.
I agree, John P. Adventures.
I remember the grays, and then I remember beings that seemed to be, I don't know anything about Nightmare Hall. I don't know what that is. The whole thing felt like fucking Nightmare Hall. I mean, the whole thing was one big nightmare. But sounds like that's a specific location in the lower reaches of Dulce. Is that correct?
Yeah, was it Thomas Costello, I think, described it. The different cages in there, and with the what they call chimeras.
Somebody said it doesn't make sense.
Yes, they had. So I don't know a name that's called Nightmare Hall.
Oh yeah, it makes perfect sense, says James.
Animals down there that felt like, I don't know, they came from inner Earth or something. There were things I cannot name. I do not have linear English words to describe. I remember a lot of light beings, light emanating from the cages, and beings that seemed extremely upper dimensional. I do not know how they co-opted them for the purpose of what they were doing.
He absolutely was, DJDs, and thanks for being a member. Great point.
So maybe this is congruent with his description of Nightmare Hall. Absolutely. Yeah.
What about different types of aliens? Did you witness grays, reptilians?
Grays. And I never saw reptilians down in Dulce. I never saw that. Was the domain 100% of the grays. 100% of the grays. And
well, you heard it here first, friends. In a Truthseekers new exclusive story, there are no reptilian aliens at Dulce, New Mexico base. By the way, I've been there. There's nothing there. There is nothing there that indicates underground base. And if there is an underground base, you need things like vents. Nothing. I spent days combing the areas in and around that. There's nothing there. Same for Montauk. I climbed the fence at Montauk. A lot of people talk, right? Have you been to Montauk? Have you looked for underground bases? Have you been to Dulce? Did you look for an underground base or signs of an underground base? I did. Nothing there.
I know they were. I mean, there was so.
By the
many
way, Dulce Base is all disinformation that was put out by none other than admitted paid government disinformation agent Richard Doty. That's where the legend of Dulce Base all came from. He fed all of that Dulce Base information to Paul Benowitz. All those Dulce Base stories come from a known government disinformation agent. And people like this just pick up the conspiracy story and run with it, not realizing that the entire root, the seed of Dulce, New Mexico Base came originally from Richard Doty in fake documents that he handed to Paul Benowitz.
different experiments going on, and
They don't
so
even know
much
the
of,
real history.
them. Part of that was them trying to, save their own wrecked biology, their own savage DNA, because they'd experimented on themselves. They'd been
Nope.
experimented on.
I didn't find any reptilian
others,
aliens,
and,
so she's right about
they were
that.
in a degraded biological state in many ways with their own genetics, but there was also trade in human body parts, and like I said, they were very interested in the human endocrine system.
There's an hour and 45 minutes of this. I don't know how much more I can take. I'm sorry.
Secretions from those glands. That was a byproduct going off world, going off of Earth, and I think out of the solar system.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly
really
what
is
all races are most
trolley
interested
troll.
in.
It really
human
is. There's nothing
glandular,
there.
System.
Rocks and dirt.
I'm
Desert.
going to share I think it's a 5-second clip. So if you have any kids here, you may not want to look. This is a chimera. I don't know if it's down in Dulce, but I was told that this is authentic video. It's pretty creepy, but I guess sometimes we do creepiness on here, if that's okay.
Go for it, James. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Here's
this is the evidence.
Our friend over. Oh, it's on 2 seconds. So yeah,
That's
they're
evidence?
creating all these type of creatures down there. So this apparently is
That's
real.
his evidence of Dulce, New Mexico Base.
Yeah, so we've got a huge problem here on this planet where humans are being abducted and converted not only to slaves, but these creatures and sold off to. Okay, yeah, it's pretty unfortunate.
Well, so I guess on a higher
Well, I
note,
think
I
she
could say
speaks
that
pretty
when I
well.
look
I
at
don't-
Dulce Lab now, like in our current time,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
looks empty. When I look at it,
we can all speculate. I don't think this girl's crazy. I think she's a grifter. She speaks very intelligently and coherently. She's got a narrative that she's pushing. She's checking all the boxes. You notice that too. Let's check the Dulce, New Mexico box. Let's check the gray aliens box. Let's check the Nazi base on the moon box. Let's check the adrenochrome box, the cloning box, the genetic experiments at Dulce box with the gray aliens. It's like she's trying to check off all the boxes. Later, she does get into basically Corey Good intellectual property, 20 and backs, and she time traveled and she's got superpowers. And I love how she's a cyborg super soldier, but she won't show us her cyborg parts, right? We could stick her in an X-ray or MRI machine to see if she's got any cyborg parts. That would prove her story. Are we ever going to get that? Probably not.
psychically, and I keep doing this and going back and looking, did I get this right? And it feels like it's defunct. I don't know if that's information that's circulating around, if you've heard this from anywhere else. And it doesn't mean all of it has stopped, but I just say when I look at it, Dulce in particular feels like things have moved on from there.
You're right, Charles Rowland. Thanks for being a member.
Just my impression, so I thought I would add that.
Thanks, Mr. Fish, and thanks for being a member.
Water down there, flooded out.
I don't see water.
That's
It
from a
just feels
movie.
empty,
And thanks
I
for being a
just
member. Yeah,
smell-
it probably
I
is.
smell residual smell psychically, but yeah.
Okay.
You know, and Dulce as well, you know, I was shown this psychically.
The only box she hasn't checked off is
that it
the
was
evidence
built
box.
upon
Yes.
a benevolent portal that would have been used by the Apache. the
Super
Native
duper
Americans
power
to commune
maneuver.
with
Yeah.
benevolent beings a long time ago, and the Greys
Run her
got a
through a
hold of
metal
it. So,
detector. I
you know,
agree.
is there an important piece of information there that has gone back to higher hands as we're seeking to get out of this morass?
I
on
agree,
this planet
Randy.
Right now, that's potentially a hopeful note. Yeah.
All right, more questions about Dulce. How about could you describe what does the portal room actually look like? And also, hold on.
Yeah, me too.
What does the
I want
portal
to see
look
the
like,
Nordic
and is it
alien she's
modern or
banging.
ancient?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. You know, so these memories come through my child's mind, and you know, child remembers it as being just this. It feels just like air. It feels like space. It feels like I'm in this my vision could see a room, but it actually feels through my body, my soma, my sentience, it feels like there's nothing around me, like I'm just moving through space. So that's not congruent with our linear 3D reality, right? Like to see one thing, but also to know that that's not what's actually going on, if that makes sense. So it's hard to describe it in linear terms. It's a nonlinear phenomenon, I would say. But it always, like I said, it always seemed very seamless. Like, and it didn't seem like there was a crazy, like, technological, like all these bells and whistles to the tech that was visible to me, at least in my memory as I understand it. Very seamless and very pared down. I mean, I'm sure jump gate technology has changed over time, and depending on which group they got the tech from and so on and so forth, there's different iterations of jump gate tech. Would you, I mean, is that something you feel as well, that there could be different?
Oh yeah, certainly. There's, yeah, the
Looking
jump
for
rooms,
confirmation from the
like
internet.
elevator that curves around, according to Andrew Basaggio. But some people describe these portals.
Portals in a robo cooch.
David Lotherington on your channel,
She's got a
Dr. Michael
robo
Wolf,
cooch.
who was part of Majestic, and he described what he just stated is that as you approach the portal, your hair would stick up because there's so much energy. Change your vibration.
I remember those kinds of changes, like that's exactly like you said that well, the energetic changes and the perception that I have that is multidimensional and not third density. That's what I remember. Those are the signatures.
Yeah, it seems like a demon movie to me, Patty.
Yeah,
you're right.
What about traveling through the portal? Does it damage? Well, if it damages does it damage your DNA? If it does, why would it do it? And if you have information on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. My perception is that it can degrade cellular biology, like the molecular structure, the atomic molecular bonds and the atomic structure will be degraded. How does that speak to, is the DNA changed? I think over time, if you just did it and did it and did it, like if you use a regen tank over and over and over, it will fuck you up. Like it's
a regen tank.
You can't keep doing that. I think the same is true with this particular technology.
What's a regen
And I think
tank?
they used a variety of children to so they wouldn't just work one kid to death. They'd switch them out and switch them out and switch them out.
You need children to work
always
the portal.
Children operating the gate. So
did you require being put into a med bed after going through the portal?
I don't think so, and that's what's kind of weird. You think, right? Like back and forth.
Yeah, I remember that.
I don't have memory of that. I don't think where they were invested enough in me to actually care to do that. But like I said,
they put her in a Bacta tank. Yeah, a regen tank.
And forth to the moon, and
that's a Bacta tank from Star Wars.
A number of years before they got me working on the jump gate to train the biology again, and all of this predicated on the fact that it was written into my life plan. Let's say, my own agency helped forge the life plan that I would eventually be sent to Mars in '82 for a twinning back. So this is all kind of prepping.
Oh, she went to Mars.
Biologically, psychologically.
She did a 20 and back on Mars, guys.
And so on, for a much bigger agenda later on in space. I think
too many 20 and backs, you start to crack. You're right, DJDs. And thanks for being a member.
I mean, it's pretty sophisticated from start to finish.
Thank you. All right. What does it look like as you're traveling through the portal?
It looks like the movie Stargate.
It looks like not much, to be honest. Like it's so fast. It's not, to me,
her name is Rebecca Rose.
It's not even, there's not a lot going on. There's this multidimensional experience of change happening, but I don't remember a visual of it. And this is why.
I thought you were going to say, just like the movie Stargate.
I didn't even know I was leaving the moon for Dulce because there wasn't a lot of signature of visual or.
So there I was in Starship Troopers, right?
At least in my recall. So. Sorry to disappoint everybody. There wasn't a lot of, it was a little bit casual, like almost too casual.
Eats her noodles with two laser swords.
And I was also drugged. I mean, I was a kid. I was drugged. I was abused,
Megatron Rainfall video game.
Doing the job that they had programmed me to do. So,
20 crack, don't come back.
Not recalling. Go ahead.
Well, how big is this portal and what color was it? And what did it actually look like when you looked at it?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I'm just opening a door. It's like just moving through a dark field. There's a darkness around it, a gray, black kind of nondescript, really. I mean, it wasn't,
at least you didn't rip off
like this
Stargate.
shimmering, we might think of a portal as a shimmering light.
Mars Needs Women.
Affect,
Yes, definitely.
A similar, like a high level frequency attached to it. But I think this may have also been to, how do we say, like, to disguise it. We don't want to announce what's going on here. Because the moon at the time, too, was...
If you're just joining us, welcome to Truthseekers. We're starting a new segment on our show called the WACKADOO of the Week. And this girl claims to be a trained cyborg assassin. She's been on Mars, the moon. She's been through portals. She's time traveled. She's done 20 and back. She's got superpowers. And she bangs a Nordic alien dude. Just to get you caught up, if you're just joining us.
Was supposed to be kind of a regulated space. And having this connection to Dulce would have been, was this a little bit rogue? Do they really want to announce that this is going on right here with a big...
We need the Super Soldier Bingo card. We're going to do that one night.
Is here. So I think that might have been why there wasn't so much visual stimulus connected to all this.
So before you step through the portal, it actually looked brown and black. It's like, okay.
Yeah, gray black.
And it looked like a door, like an.
It looks like almost like a shadow, like you're stepping into a shadow,
which is appropriate for this kind of a show.
Opening through just through a corridor into Dulce.
Okay, so once you got to Dulce, what happened to you then? What were they doing to you? Or that's.
I was just going back and forth. That would kind of go in. They'd have something they wanted to load. I would step aside, let them, put in this almost like a non-dimensional space. I mean, we could see it like as an elevator, a room or a shaft. I would just get out of the way and they'd move cargo in, and a lot of times I was just looking at the ground. That's how we dissociate and just disengage from what's happening. So there'd be, sometimes I was bringing data back, but usually it was beings, body parts, and like I said, endocrine system stuff, and just go back.
Archaic Revival says she stole my IP right down the banging dude aliens.
Back between those locations.
Archaic Revival, you bang dudes?
I recall being,
alien dudes?
wandering around through those.
We need 45-watt plasma rifles
cages,
for this. Yes.
The beings in cages. And at times I was trying to go and just connect with these beings who seemed so interesting to me. That was not part of my job, but it was what I wanted to do. And to connect with them from a place of communion and heart, and not from a place of I'm being abused and I'm helping.
I'm pretty sure she did read Whitley Strieber's book Communion.
Just trying to bring, I don't know, a child's curiosity to connect with these unusual and somewhat beautiful beings. There was that.
Greg O'Brien is hard.
All right. Were there other children around you as well being experimented in this way?
There were other kids, like I said, the other kids
water on them, yes.
operating the jump room, and we were. It's weird. They didn't want us to
kind and generous $20 super chat saying, "Happy belated birthday, Steve." Yes, and thank you all for the birthday wishes. I celebrated today. I got my cheesecake and my gifts from my children and my wife, and a handmade card for my 6-year-old son. It was the best birthday I've ever had this year, and you guys helped make it special. So thank all of you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. And thank you, Stormcrow, of course, a longtime show supporter, for helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
We did a lot of cash praising these last couple of days, and I'm thankful for all of your support. Thank you all very much. Let's get back to the week, the wackadoo of the week. Here we go.
They want us to bond. No human bonding is wanted to happen there. So they would keep us apart from each other. And there were kids who were also serving other functions down in Dulce. I don't know that I know all there is, about that, because I wasn't allowed to interact as much as I would have wanted. But the children, I mean, we know this from the SSP, and they took me into the SSP formally when I was 9. The children are so useful because we're so porous. We can do whatever they need. Adults can't do it because we're so conditioned in a certain direction, and we have those psychic abilities intact. So
we can't do it.
I think the children were also used to keep the beings who were captive kind of in a certain frequency range, in a certain, using them in a way to manipulate them and keep them in a certain mind state or in a certain mood or in a certain feeling. You know, the child could make you happy, make you sad, light you up, augmenting the emotional state, so to speak, of the beings. And that's a place from which they would alter make alterations in the DNA. Like when I was the child who was doing that and kind of getting their information, they wanted the beings in a certain frequency range, and in that certain frequency range,
I can do that.
Friendliness,
I'll go over to the
light,
chat and do that.
Certain things will light up in the DNA, in the biology, that they actually wanted to eliminate. So find out where those happy vibes are. I'm simplifying this too much, but find out where that is, and let's delete that from the program. We don't want that. So let's get that out of there. In many ways, they wanted to create beings who could do all the functions of, have the higher dimensional capacities, but without sentience. We don't want all those messy emotional entanglements. We don't want, all the things that make us human or that make benevolent beings benevolent. They wanted to get that out of there. So I hope that makes some sense.
Yeah, that actually maybe answers one of the other questions I had earlier, is why you were involved in this whole program.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And it's all, we could talk it to you about, like, I hadn't gotten to the 20 and back yet, and this is helping.
I'm going to pin it.
Still a lot of distortions and inversions.
You guys
in
can vote.
Humanity. The swapping, I mentioned the victim perpetrator role, and we learn that betrayal is the currency, right? Betray or be betrayed. That's what I'm learning here. A lot of
looks like a nice fireplace, though, might be behind
also
there.
Learning,
I like
right,
fireplaces.
that I will be mastered.
Stonework.
I am not my own. I'm not autonomous. I'm always looking to somebody else for.
She met
guidance,
Optimus Prime after
tell
this
me what
broadcast.
to do, and expecting to be manipulated, expecting to be abused, expecting to be drugged, and so on and so forth. This is priming me for everything else I'm going to experience at Montauk.
She's got psycho abilities. Patty and Wilhelm says yes.
It's just getting at me early and continuing on.
Yeah, we're going to do that while he's
This was light duty, and this was light programming compared to the things that came later. So it was all a very precise progression over time and over the years.
Okay. I want you to continue on that just a bit, but let's finish one last question here with Dulce. Did you connect with any of the beings down there that were in the cages, and like what messages did they tell you? If you remember what they look like, could you describe that as well?
He does look like he has a blank sheet of
remember.
paper.
I think it says just an orange glow, like beings that seem like they had this peach-colored glow, and that they seem to be more made of light than substance.
You're right, Kevin.
I don't know how
You're
to
absolutely
right.
Right.
I could say
she's checking boxes.
Quality, but I don't
frequency,
have
vibes,
like,
DNA, higher dimensions, entanglements.
Sirius, or they're from Inner Earth, or they're, some of the animals seem to be from Inner Earth. I don't even know.
Thank you, Robert Redmond, for kind of generous $4 super sticker.
Two arms.
Thank you for helping us to praise the cash.
Configuration. Some of them seem to be like not. I don't even know where they came from. I remember exchanging not linear English messages, but this love in a place like that. I mean, it's so strange, right?
She was exchanging love with the aliens in the cages.
Lit up with a kind of love. I mean, think about that.
Crazy paving.
Yeah. So again, we're talking about energy and frequency and vibration and conveyance through that means, rather than
the message she's a psychologist.
Take good care of yourself, or please don't do this to me, or whatever it might be. And again, this is coming. I've said this before already, but it's coming through the mind of a child that's been myself, who's the memories come in a different way, and they're not always so.
Somebody put the Discord link in the chat for Noble Truth, who's a member, please.
To them, because
thank you, guys.
What's happening for me in the situation I'm in?
That's
a great question.
I'm tired.
That's a great question. I think the nature of these memories too is that more continues to unfold over time. But when all of you guys know this, who are retrieving memories from the programs, a lot of them are really hard and difficult and emotional. So. I think there's a part of me that has put the brakes on recalling more from this place. Like, okay, I have enough. That's it. I don't want to know more. In a way,
that's a real thing. Crazy paving.
Do you have enough information to answer this question? Was there different races of children at Dulce?
Ooh, that's a good question. I remember different races of children. You mean like ET children, or I remember little white kids. Yeah.
As in like gray, little gray, white. gray kids?
No, like
You
little
say so,
Caucasian
Haji.
kids. But I think you mean like, did I see hybrids? There were also
But
there were hybrids.
you know what? I'm going to ask.
gray.
Haji, don't you think it's a little bit suspicious that she's talking about Dulce, New Mexico base, which was a government disinformation campaign? Richard Doty is the seed and originator of all the stories about Dulce base. It was included in documents that he gave Paul Benowitz that were faked. Don't you think it's a little suspicious that she's talking about her time at a base that never existed and was part of a government disinformation program? I mean, makes me suspicious.
Human hybrids there. I think that's what you're meaning. Yes. In different stages.
Well,
of
now we have
development.
human
Some of
hybrids.
the
Somebody
lab
check the
experiments,
box.
There was a section of lab where some of the beings took a really long gestation. I don't know exactly what was in all of those.
Thanks, Charles. I don't blame you.
But some
Have
of
a
them
good
seemed
evening.
like they were
Thanks for being here.
growing
Thanks
so
for being a
slowly,
member.
It would take years for them to develop, and those were high prize, experiments or high prize creatures.
He's ready to pass out drunk and he thinks she's hot.
Yeah.
All right. And what about the smell? Patty is asking, what did it smell like?
Oh God, like death. It
agree.
just smelled like death
XOXO.
and decay. I mean,
Yeah, the
to be
imaginary base
honest,
smells like death.
a
Great.
really bad smell. That's the closest approximation. I don't know if there's because we've got all the smell of the things that are not even coming from Earth. I don't know if there's an earthly way to describe. It's like beyond death, but decay and stench and filth and like a kind of a dampy smell in there too.
It's a dampy
and it was always dark. It was never. I never saw. No, it's always dimly lit. It's not like, oh, we come in and flick the lights on. No. Oh, no. Because I think also the light would bother some of the experiments and the beings that they had cooking, so to speak. The Greys
They were
don't
cooking
like
up
light environments.
human
I
hybrids.
think it's hard on their eyes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how about we go to the next question? Or
Well,
topic,
she said
I
that
guess.
she had a Nordic mate.
How did you end in a 20-year and back?
Thanks for being a member, Troy.
Yeah, I always blame my father. Yeah, I mean, largely because my father was working with the deep state military industrial complex, and he was working in top secret with the naval
That's
intelligence. He went into the top secret classified world when I was about 3 or 4. I think prior to that, he'd only been working with a secret clearance.
Well, if it's fake, I tell people the truth. Do you want me to lie to you?
His own agency. I had.
But thanks for being here.
Visions
still
in
looking for new
meditation, deep
mysteries.
meditation, several days in a row, back in 2020, 21 maybe, of my father in a conference room with 2 Greys, guys in Navy uniforms and guys in suits. They're pushing papers at him and they're saying, sign this. And they're saying this is for the betterment of humanity, meaning myself. And I think also
Oh, so her daddy was having meetings with aliens before she had all of her alien experiences. That explains it all.
my brother was also in the programs. We had a tandem abduction experiences as kids, but anyway, I think my father was probably signing away my brother as well. My mother's side of my family had dark reptilian in her German bloodline and ritual abuse going back several generations into Germany. So we have a dark reptilian on my mom's side, and we have my father, who is a Zeta hybrid, coming in. Being
Wait a
manipulated
minute.
by his
We got to stop it right there.
And also
So not only was her father having meetings with gray alien beings, but her father signed her and her brother away to these secret programs. And her mother's side of the family have Draco reptilian alien DNA or blood in their bloodline. And her father is a Zeta reticulan hybrid. Did we get all that? Wouldn't that genetically show up if she did like a 23andMe? I would think so. Can we take a look at your DNA, honey, and see all this alien DNA intermingled with your human DNA?
by the Ryan Group.
And can we see the cyborg parts that she also claims to have cyborg parts? Come on. This girl's a Zeta reticulan reptilian human hybrid. We can add that to the list of her claims. Her father was a Zeta reticulan hybrid. Her mother had reptilian alien DNA or blood in their German bloodline. And yeah, it's getting deep in here, friends.
So I call it a MyLab family breeding program. I mean, my parents met in the Army in 65. It was a total setup. They got married in a month, not because my mother was pregnant, but because I think they were destined to create MyLab babies. When I look at it now, I mean, that's pretty sobering. I didn't want to look at that for a long time, but that's what I see. It's an absolutely perfect setup for that. So there's a lot, I mean, I could talk about my father for a long time, but that's kind of how I ended up being routed or kind of, how do we say, down a pipeline, the MyLab pipeline, the highway to MyLab.
I'm pretty sure said that I was looking for a woman with cyborg parts.
Up to 82 when I was taken for the longer 20 and back. So
somebody said she had a robo cooch, okay. Patty, but don't quote me.
Does your brother speak about his experiences to you?
James, we have some work to do on my brother. My brother, thank you. I mean, he's 4 years older. He spent his childhood reading sci-fi, drawing spaceships and aliens, and all of that. And it only came out last fall because I was asking him point blank, like, what do you remember?
I agree, Kevin.
From
excellent observation. You are absolutely right.
Turns out he was having.
And these people rush in to fill the void.
I'm mute. I'm paralyzed. They're coming and taking me. I feel I'm being elevated or levitating out through the house or the wall or the ceiling. And he just last year, it took us almost 50 years to get these memories together in tandem, right? That he would talk about this. Oh, the same thing was happening to me. I said, well, so what else? What else happened to you? But he shuts the conversation down every time. He's at a point in his life where he doesn't any longer believe that aliens are a thing. So that's why I say, man, we have some work to do on my brother. But hopefully,
it looks like just a fuzzy jacket or something with a fuzzy collar.
To clear knowing about his own experiences.
Thank you. All right. So how many 20-year and backs have you done? Or how many?
As far as I know, one. But they seem, because I have some overlapping clone memories, it can feel like there was more than.
Hi, my name is James Rink.
Like there's more time than 20 years because if you have multiple clones having experiencing
super duper power sprung prover,
it can feel like it's a little bit more. So that's a little confusing. But
yes, you
get my meaning if you've got a few of you running around at the same time. Yeah. So as far as I know, it's just one. That's plenty.
I agree. Archaic revival. Female David Wilcock.
And what about, so what roles do they primarily get you to do through your different clone bodies?
Yeah, this was all, so.
Oh, she has different clone bodies too, besides being a cyborg.
Standard going to Mars. They train you for a while. I'm already pretty psychically trained at that point.
You're right, Algaray.
I'm already well aware that I'm not the master of my own experience.
She's psychically trained too.
At all times. I've given myself over, assigned myself over to that reality. But they're training me. They first trained me. I mean, they start augmenting you bit by bit, but they trained me psychically to operate or telekinetically to operate a machine, right? They
so she's got telekinetic superpowers
they stuck me
too.
Into a lot of simulated programs.
So for those unaware, so far this girl is an alien hybrid. Her father was a Zeta Reticuli alien hybrid. Her mother had reptilian alien DNA in her bloodline. And she's a trained cyborg assassin, whatever that means. And she's got she's a seer and she's got telekinetic superpowers. For those unaware, telekinetics is the ability to move things with your mind. So she can, like Phoenix or Jean Grey in the X-Men. She's got those superpowers. She can move objects with her mind. Right? You would think that she would want to show that to everybody and prove her superpowers are real. Show us her robo parts. And I'm not saying she does have a robo cooch, but somebody in the audience suggested she might have a robo cooch. Who knows? She didn't detail her cybernetic parts yet.
Like my memories of, and they're very clear when it's a simulated
clone memories,
training experience because I feel hyper adrenalized. Like I got like 50 Red Bulls and like they shot me up with amphetamines and then they stuck me in this program to augment me and augment my the internal program because I'm being, how do we say, I'm being created into a cyborg. Ultimately, that's the program, but it happens over time. It's not immediate when I go there and I'm 9. So it's again a pretty precise
somebody's been watching Guardians of the Galaxy.
Like a timeline that they have.
What's the cyborg girl in Guardians of the Galaxy?
Telekinetically operating a
she works for Skeletor part-time.
A weaponized machine, and then over time I will become that machine. They train me to pilot. That was a little later. That didn't happen right away. So piloting and eventually for Defense Force and, patrolling and protecting the bases, right?
Anybody else notice that this girl is like all things? She got trained to be a telekinetic super soldier. She got trained to be a cybernetic cyborg assassin. She got trained to be a pilot too.
And they trained me on, as a foot soldier or like combat on land.
She's a trained combat soldier as well.
So
it's getting pretty deep in here.
I felt like Mars was like the place I was never going to leave. Like just kind of a lot happened there. But it was, it just felt like it went on and on and on and on.
Yeah, I thought that myself. I'm not aware of Trolley Troll.
I didn't spend 20 years quite there, but it almost feels like it. There's still more memory to unpack there. For as much as memory as I do have, there's still.
Can she make a good sandwich? DJ D's, thanks for being a member.
Be gotten. Yeah.
Let's discuss a little bit about Mars in just a bit. But before we do, I want you to describe, if you know,
Nebula. That's
the
name.
Think they first abducted you
the cyborg.
for your 20 year and back. Like how
yeah.
old were you?
Yeah. Yes, I do. I absolutely remember that. Yeah. That was in September of '82. I was not yet 10. I would be 10 the next month. And I remember being, taken up through in this case, it was through the side by my, the side of the house. And I remember moving as if in slow motion. In looking back through the kitchen windows, it was
yes. She mentioned ritual abuse. Her mother was the victim of ritual abuse.
Was going to be happening to me, and it
quite the resume. Yes,
going to be like it was before. A lot of times there would be insectoids with my abductions up to that point.
We checked the insectoids box, so now we got reptilians, insectoids, and gray aliens.
At that point, I don't even remember beings accompanying me, but that's my very crystal clear memory of being taken out and knowing that there was this consciousness, that this is going to go bad and it's going to go on.
I agree, Wes Snipes.
That's the clearest I have. And also at the same time, I mentioned briefly an avatar that's on a benevolent ship with I would call him the Galactic Confederation. However,
Rambo and Wonder Woman.
I just have always called him in a more family-like way. I've called him the Light Alliance. As soon as I call something the
Light Alliance,
I don't.
You know what? I'd like to see her and Randy Kramer have a fight. Who would win? The genetically perfect super soldier, Randy Kramer, or this trained cyborg assassin with telekinetic superpowers, right? It's so stupid. This is so stupid.
It's like so official. I don't want to relate with it. But I also have a memory that same night of it's almost like a fragment or a split of my body like a rag doll going straight up into the ship, the benevolent ship, and meeting people there and them talking to me at this, like this is happening in tandem, the dark abduction and the light abduction, if you will, being taken at once.
Shut down, my money's on her.
It speaks to how I was able to survive all this, because I think if I hadn't had that relationship and they hadn't preserved part of me that was really essential to my survival and my soul, that I wouldn't be here talking about all this today. I wouldn't have been able to come through all this without it. So that's also that memory is very, very clear on the same night.
She's the big hero of her own story too. And they always are.
That it's helped me heal. It's helped me contextualize all of this, so I understand the bigger picture of my soul's journey with it. Yeah. Okay.
Wow, so many questions. Let's start. How about could you respond quickly? So they are actually using time travel technology, right? You serve for 20 years. They re-age you, put you back.
Yeah, with that, I mean, I'm most familiar with the time stuff that was going on in Montauk. Yeah, we can talk about that down the line. There was age regression technology through the silver bullet at Montauk, but let me not digress. Yeah, let me not digress. Yeah.
All right. Well, before we go to that,
age regression, check that box.
When they returned
Montauk
you,
project, she's checked that box a lot. Was
your personality different? Did you like Penny Bradley? She mentioned that she started speaking in German, and her parents where'd you learn?
That's wild. I was starting to go downhill, but I wasn't speaking German. I did not speak German, and the Germans didn't own me. I wasn't involved with the Germans.
Serious?
After
Chuck believes every word
already. I don't remember being with them, so I wouldn't have spoken German. But true, when I look at pictures from before that time and pictures after that time, there's a really stark and like a difference Wow. A difference that makes me just want to cry. Like, it's so bad. And it was after that time that every year a teacher in school would like pull me aside and say, is everything okay at home? And I would just sit there and cry, and I would not know what to say. Like, I guess everything's at home, but I feel really fucked up inside. I didn't say that, but that's, I could feel myself falling away. And over the years,
sounds like a victim of
eventually I was
abuse, like many of these people.
because I didn't want to be alive anymore. But that it took probably
they don't. According to Preston Nichols, they
part of
didn't.
10 years,
Only
or
Montauk
let's say
boys.
7, 8, 9 years for that to really.
Because Preston
really get that
Nichols
far down.
had a thing for young boys. Apparently, he liked to watch other men masturbate in front of him too. That's where all of Montauk comes from. It was gay sex parties, right?
Into the depths.
And the deprogramming involves, well, I have to lay my hands on you, specifically your private areas.
Did you have self-infliction behaviors, cutting, or anything like that?
I had really bad eating disorders. I was very, very thin. I'm almost 6 feet tall, and I weighed about 75 pounds by the time that I was hospitalized. I dropped out of school, and I had no friends, and I was just, in my room in the dark. Like, really, it was bad. It was bad. And thankfully, no, I didn't go into cutting, but I think if I hadn't had all the
and she's taking money
stuff, I probably
just to be clear. Some people occasionally will say, like, well, maybe she's just nuts, and you shouldn't exploit that. But her story is very well rehearsed. Everything she's saying is very well rehearsed. She's checking every conspiracy land box, and she's taking big money from people for psychic readings. So to me, she's a predator of other confused, vulnerable people that desperately want to believe that all her crazy stories are true. And she is sitting here essentially confirming every conspiracy land story you ever heard. Montauk, yeah, that's true. I was there. Dulce Base, oh yeah, that's true. I was there in the cages. I saw the aliens, right? The Nazi base on the moon, yeah, that's definitely true. I was there too. Jump rooms, oh yeah, I went through portals. Time travel, oh yeah, I did that. Medical age regression technology, oh yeah, there's silver bullet at the Montauk Project, yeah, I did that. Adrenochrome, oh yeah, that's real. That's how the reptilians got wealthy, selling human adrenochrome. She's confirming every conspiracy land story as true. I find that incredibly suspicious, because many of the roots of these conspiracy land stories we can pick apart and show is completely fake, especially Dulce, New Mexico, which came from a known government disinformation agent, Richard Doty.
Oh, that was self-mutilation.
And those are what you would call alters, I guess. From This Is a Journey to Truth is asking, do you get triggered into these alters still?
No, I don't. And I think that's, and yeah, thank you, Journey to Truth podcast. Hello.
Basically,
I think that's a great question. I think it's because I was up there in like I said, my friends on the benevolent ship and my mate from Procyon, Tyrion, were making sure that didn't happen. Because if that had happened, I wouldn't have gotten to the point.
Her alien mate
now,
saved
so I can
her.
speak fairly coherently on your show, right?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah,
that's a really good question though, because that does happen. I see a lot of people as clients
could
that
be
are
his
still
higher
struggling with bleed through or slipping into some other reality of self. Sure, absolutely.
All right,
that's a good.
Well, I think we discussed that. Well, let's. How about the end part of this question? Do you remember when they discharged you? Like, did they pull you aside and say, "Well, I'm turning off the video recording, and I'm going to speak to you frankly"? Earth still exists.
Talk about the Nazi base on the moon.
Remember anything like that?
I don't remember that. My last assignment, and well, I shouldn't say that. I've got other memories that are beyond that. I was going to say that my last assignment of recall was with the Draco, being owned by the Draco, because I was sold in the slave trade itself to the Draco, and that is the last recall. I want to say the 20 back.
She didn't check the blue chicken box yet.
Where was the ending here? Where is it? I remember leaving, but where is the memory of coming back in? It is unclear to me still. I do remember, I have some memories. Let me explain why I say like, oh, there's some other stuff that's come in that makes me think that wasn't the end.
Yeah. That I always think it's suspicious too, that when people tire of these people telling all of their original stories, they suddenly have new recovered memories and new stories to tell people. I've always found that a little bit suspicious.
I was sent to some what I call suborbital substations with a skeleton
Oh yeah,
crew
please vote in the
less
poll.
than 10 people. We were, their designation or their solar system ID is based on astronomical units, which is the distance from, this, or the Earth to the sun. And it seems like I'm in but I'm not a super soldier anymore. Like they retired me to these sort of watching the atmosphere and.
Oh, did she lose her superpowers? She said she's not a super soldier anymore.
Patrolling for intruders, but it's a very I want to say benign, not quite benevolent job, but I am owned by somebody else out there. So I'm on a little tangent here, but I don't remember, like, I know a lot of people have memory of the discharge. I don't have
I know.
Yeah,
just
not-
one of her
not-
claims
not-
is fantastic
not very
enough. She's got
clear
100 of
about
them.
But you
Yeah.
do remember when you first got your memories back.
You're right, Amy.
And I know you mentioned that just briefly go into that because you mentioned that in the last show we did.
Yeah.
What triggered it?
Yeah. I had a head injury in 2012. I was hit by a car on my bike and had a terrible head injury. And it was in northern New Mexico, not far from Dulce, where I got hit. You can't make this up, man, right? And after that, things started to really unravel. I'd patched my life up and did my thing for a couple decades, and then that happened and things started coming up. I feel like the moment of the crash and the impact and the concussion, I was like, it was almost like being handed a disc, a CD, like, this is your story. This is what happened. I'm not going to show you everything now, but you have it now. It's in here.
Oh, that's interesting. So she has an accident where she suffers major trauma and head injury, and suddenly she's remembering being a trained cyborg assassin and having telekinetic superpowers and going on space adventures, and her parents being alien hybrids, which I guess would make her an alien human hybrid as well, and all these other things. Little suspicious there. Sometimes people have head trauma and they are not the same person that they were before the head trauma.
And over time, because my life was really hit bottom at that, this was 11 years ago, I started meditating. I didn't know what else to do. I just knew I was fucked up. And so the meditation started to unlock things because it takes me into a deeper brainwave.
She did just say you can't make this up. Yeah, I think you can. I'm pretty sure you can make this stuff up, and I'm pretty sure she is making this stuff up.
A lot of things. And then as I got closer to my father's death in 2020, in the year and a half leading up to his death was when I started to get the really hardcore space stuff coming back.
Okay, so I don't know. Why don't you just tell us what you think about this? And if you don't want to answer it,
brain injury check.
What do you think about
proof of how they didn't abuse me? The Light Alliance? No.
Yeah, the dark side of how. So you went through these programs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, why didn't they intervene?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
you?
No, that's a good question. And I would say
40 miles an hour.
Absolutely.
Yeah, can't make this up.
Because
you can't make this
I
stuff
mentioned on
up.
the show here today that there was an element of my own agency in like signing up for all of this. From the perspective of the soul, what am I here for? If I hadn't gone,
I'm surprised anybody thinks she's telling the truth.
I don't see
okay,
myself
DJDs.
anymore.
83% think she's making
a
it all
station
up.
on the journey, but it's not a place for me to camp out. I've become a sovereign being again. But anyway, if I hadn't gone and experienced all that, I couldn't be speaking firsthand about all of these things.
Yeah,
and it would
she really looks like an assassin,
being
doesn't
in
she?
what I call the belly of the beast to be a voice of disclosure publicly. And I couldn't have done it without, couldn't do this now without the experiences. And they've taught me so much. Like if it wouldn't have been the programs, I would have found some really dark stuff to go through. That's how I am. I have extremes that I gravitate to in this lifetime, in this embodiment. It's my personality. I want to know. I wanted to know about this. And so the Light Alliance and those guys don't. It's not a matter of approving it, but we wanted to know about the Galactic.
She does look a little like Angelique.
And I learned a lot firsthand. So it was my own, we could say I vetted myself to come down and do this, and I don't regret it.
Can you describe exactly what is the Light Alliance?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I touched on this. Let me deepen this.
Dynamite with a laser beam.
The Light Alliance is just my
Thanks, His Highness, for the laugh.
Term for the Galactic Confederation.
She can wire a cabin.
So
Shut up, Stormcrow.
The Light Alliance is like the family name for that. My friends up there and my really benevolent guardians. I also consider them my guardians in so many ways. Still, still the Federation, we could debate for a long time, but there's different factions of that. There's so much to it. And our ship was more about a lot of observation, not a lot of 3D intervention, other than like working with time and dimensions so that we could head off certain things at the past. But a lot of our
time and dimensions,
we wanted to know about enslavement in this kind of.
She's traveling the multiverse, I guess. Wonder if she met all the Spider-Men.
That's probably a whole nother show. So I hope I've explained that sufficiently.
Not yet. Sure. She will if they see this.
We'll just have to move on because we're only like halfway done here with topics tonight because I know we've got this one maybe even may take us a while. So your interactions with the reptilians and mantis. So why don't you just, I don't know, where would you want to start from that?
Okay. Yeah. So let's go into.
Ray, you're right.
Let's talk about the reptilians.
She's going to be on Jimmy Church soon.
I'm kind of partial to these reptilians, and I'll explain why. Partial to reptilians? What do you mean? Let me unpack.
Oh, happy birthday, NV5150.
As I mentioned, being a pilot and with Defense Force, right? And
she was with the Defense Force.
This is absolutely
the Mars
crazy.
Defense
I'm so
Force.
Grateful I had these memories. I crashed
out
there.
Check the Mars Defense Force
patrolling
box.
in my this junky old craft that I had. That was like this old helicopter retrofitted for Mars.
Yeah.
This is the craft I piloted many craft on Mars, but that's the one I remember best for whatever reason. And I'm wired from my head back to Central Command. So that's why I'm allowed to be out, or I and others are allowed to be out piloting alone. They know where I am.
She's got wires in her head.
And I have a feeling I'm shut down.
Everybody.
But the beings that picked me up are these reptilians who are native to the planet and they lived underground. So in my own journals, I write about them as the reptilians that saved me and also kind of stole me. And really interesting experience with them. With them, they brought me back to their underground.
I agree, Dan.
I don't know. I guess
this is just a concoction of all conspiracy
stories. They were not
stories.
Advanced in the ways we think about advancement. They had regressed because they were a small group. There weren't many left, and they were a bit inbred. These reptilians were small, a little bit round.
Yeah, he's using her intellectual property. She talked about 20 in backs.
Nothing like the Draco, not at all like the Draco. And like I said, they didn't have
super duper
weaponry and craft and tech the way we think of tech, but they had spiritual tech, what I would call spiritual technology. They were interacting with the spiritual energies of Mars, of their planet. Mars being a living being, just like Terra is a living being. We can interact with those energies. And they've been able to create what they needed to survive underground. They had survived a cataclysm on Mars, and that's why they were an isolated group out there. But my memory of being with them is actually some of my best memories from the programs, because they treated me like one of them. I had never experienced this before as a slave. And
subspace
it's emotional. Like I can feel that now. Like, wow, to eat with them and to be in the space
she
with them.
The reptilians on Mars.
In a way, they honored me. In a way, they didn't. They ended up cannibalizing me for parts, for technology, and they wanted to understand my biology and my tech. Remember, I'm built out with a lot of tech as a cyborg, and I'm cloned at this point.
Oh, we got to stop it. She's built out with a lot of tech as a cyborg, and she's cloned at this point. So not only is she a cyborg, cybernetic organism with cyborg parts, but she's also cloned at this point when she meets the reptilians that are native to the planet Mars that live underground. Whoo, boy, is it getting deep in here.
Them in a state of relative peace for a while, and for me out there was like, this is like heaven.
Yeah, what do they eat? There's no food on Mars. There's nothing on Mars.
I was at a council meeting. I didn't really understand what was going on because they didn't seem to have telepathic.
I can't explain it either.
I couldn't understand through psychic means what was happening, but there was a meeting about what they should do with me, and it was decided that they should try and save themselves, right? So we can say that's pretty low.
Wait, but it's
remember my yardstick, what we're talking about, like all the abuse I'd suffered.
Yeah, and by the way, that's a common Star Trek theme. Everybody who's watched Star Trek: The Next Generation, everybody remembers some episodes of Star Trek where like they were stranded somewhere and they had to like take a part off of data to like make some kind of transmitter or something. This is a Star Trek story. This is totally a Star Trek story.
Like, this is nothing. This is great. Just keep me here for a while. I don't care. it was extraordinary to have had, and also that they had water under there. It was a little bit of an oasis. There was something, I mean, like trees underground, and
There's trees on Mars. You
really
heard it here
benevolent
first,
environment.
friends.
This is how I remember them. And like I said, I think they were a pretty isolated group. And I remember them, how it came through my memories was like they wanted to inspect my soul. They wanted to know if I had
agree,
a soul.
Amy.
And I
No
think partly
credibility.
curiosity got the better of them as far as like taking me apart, so to speak. So I didn't survive that. I wasn't brought back to the base, and the tracking device that would have been with me and in me was.
We're up to almost an hour, and just if you're just joining us, we're doing a new segment on Truthseekers called the WACKADOO of the Week. And this girl has checked every box so far. Dulce, New Mexico is true and real, and the Nazi base on the moon, and the Mars Defense Force. And she went through jump rooms. She's a cyborg. She was cloned. Her parents are reptilian. Her mom is a reptilian alien hybrid. Her dad is a Zeta Reticula gray alien hybrid. She's got telekinetic superpowers. She's a trained pilot and a trained cyborg assassin.
Was broken, and that's why I think they didn't from the base come and find me. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Really extraordinary
Chuck's
story.
coming out with his
Can you
super soldier
describe?
story next
I
week.
think you've already done it in the previous video, but for people who don't want to go back and listen to it all over again, tell us
Right.
what they actually look like. How tall were they? What color were they? Did
Yeah,
they
they
have
were
clothing?
green. They were green and
Yeah.
kind of, I would say maybe like 4 feet tall. A lighter yellowy green on their chest, and like a roundness, a little bit of maybe plumpness.
All over the rabbit hole, yes.
To them, as I recall. And like I said, no tail. They were quick and nimble. They were
Yeah, she's gonna be
there
on
was a
third
grace
phase of
to how
moon
they
next.
moved. And they were very much at one with their environment. So but they lived largely underground. I mean, I think it was a risk for them to come above ground to find me, and, but largely they were.
It is quite the tale. We're only an hour in.
Do you remember what they call themselves?
No idea what they call themselves.
Did
no
they
idea.
Did they ever speak to you?
She's not wearing a
I guess
classified
with
as
their
hell
mouth, like
shirt.
gruntal sounds or anything?
Yeah, they had. I mean, it was weird. They had their own method of communication with each other, but it wasn't telepathic, and it didn't seem to be like
It did get approved for human
almost like a
trials.
verbal language. It was like
Yeah, and,
movements, and it was. I mean, we would consider.
Interestingly, Neuralink has been approved for human trials, and interestingly, I would qualify because I have neurological damage from my brain aneurysm. So should I get a Neuralink implant? I don't know, but I'm able to do the human trials. My wife would kill me if I let somebody do brain surgery on me and put some chips in my brain. Listen, they'd have to sedate you, and anytime you go into a surgery with sedation involved, there's a risk of death. I have 2 children, so I'm not going to risk it. But I thought it was funny. A friend of mine sent me the requirements, and he said, "Don't you have neurological damage, Stephen, due to your brain aneurysm?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You could get Neuralink right now." And I was like, "Oh God."
Consider it kind of crude. You consider like really, really basic. I'm sure they were communicating.
I don't know. Do you get weekends off after the
ideas,
intergalactic
But it was
battles?
through a lot of hand, like movement of the body, movement.
Yeah,
of the
thanks,
hand,
Dawn, and
movement
thanks for
of
being
the
a
eyes.
member. This is the WACKADOO.
And maybe it was a different color kind of telepathy that I didn't understand. I couldn't pick up on it.
She saw Hal put off with his
I'm
shirt
really
off.
not sure about that. And there was it was a guttural sounds, but it was a combination of those things. Really unique kind of very.
I could become a
felt really
cyborg
ancient
too.
about it.
Yeah, verifiably.
All right. And what kind of food would they serve you?
Yeah, there's something very I remember it as almost like a succulent, this big fat green, like a fat leaf, like a desert plant almost or something.
They fed her
But it was
leaves
vegetable.
on
It
Mars.
was a vegetable matter that they gave me.
She had Mars vegetables, friends.
Yeah. Yeah. far out.
So what did it taste like?
The monkey is the first cyborg from.
It didn't taste like much. I mean, it was fine. It wasn't. It didn't have much flavor to me. Like either way, it's pretty neutral. Was it?
Oh, the
sharp
food
or
on
pungent?
Mars is
It
terrible.
was fine. I
Everybody,
would've
cancel
eaten
my
more,
Mars
probably. I'm sure I
voyage.
did. Yeah.
Okay. Did you see any other people there, human type people?
You're right.
No,
just-
they had never seen a human. I felt like
Not
I'd
in
been like
Castile.
dropped out of an airplane into some pygmy tribe and wherever, like they'd never seen a human. That's why they were like,
Space
What is she-
okra.
You know,
Yes,
they're
that's what
like,
it was.
wow, far out.
Space
Like, was
broccoli?
it a he or
Mars
she or what
broccoli?
was I at
I
that
don't
point?
know.
What, it'd be interesting to see myself through their eyes. Like, what must I have seemed like to them? Right? Yeah.
Maybe you seem
Here's
like
a great
wackadoo.
question from. Oh, okay. I don't know who said it, but anyway, were they vegan?
Yes, she has.
I don't think that they were.
Yes, she has definitely seen making money. She does psychic readings, and she's all booked up into the month of July. And this was recorded months ago. So months ago, she was booked up through July as a psychic. I guess every day. I don't know how many readings she gives, but she's making a lot of money selling people psychic readings who want to believe her nonsense, I guess.
But a lot, we could make an assumption that they were fairly vegetarian because a lot of what I saw there was like vegetable matter. They didn't.
Algarves can't swing the
I think
Mars
they were
vacation. The
opportunists.
kids will be
And
pissed.
probably what happened was that they were able to grow a lot of stuff, and so they adapted to that over time.
Yeah, it makes her
Remember,
special.
this
She's the only
group
human they
seemed
ever
to be
saw.
dying out. So I think they would have, if they could hunt above ground or whatever, they would have.
Oh,
But,
Patty, every
yeah.
woman
All right.
cooks better
And
than me.
did
though.
these reptilians know
I'm
that
getting
you
better.
went through a lot of
I'm
trauma
learning.
and tried to heal you?
Ooh, yeah. I'm sure they knew I'd been through a lot of trauma. And I'm wondering too if they,
Yeah.
from their spiritual
There's an awful lot of holes in her story. Like, you can't breathe on Mars, and the barometric pressure would kill you without a spacesuit in seconds. That's a little bit of just a little bit of plot holes here. Mars is not a habitable planet. We didn't hear details about how she's surviving in the atmosphere of Mars.
perspective,
But
did they
you
also
got to
think
suspend
that
your
they were doing me a
disbelief,
favor, by terminating, something that had been so from their mind, like think about spiritual
Yeah.
beings working with a
You're right,
spiritual
Bob
energy of
Marley.
the planet. Something that is so far gone from its original blueprint. Are you liberating the thing and liberating its energy to kind of?
I agree,
advance
Dawn
it? I think
Richardson.
that might have been also part of
I'm a
it.
fan of monkeys and chimpanzees, so I don't like
Thomas
anybody
is asking,
experimenting.
do you remember
on
the original Aboriginals, or whatever, the Aboriginal Martians?
I think these are them.
I think actually these were actually olive skinned humanoids. Yeah, they can breathe the low oxygen environment just fine. Did you ever encounter any like humans that had this olive colored skin?
Oh, no, excuse me. No, I didn't. I did not meet them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess
I
the
agree,
next
Mara.
question would be, what did their living quarters look like, or their city that you were in?
Oh, it wasn't a city. What I remember is largely like the trees and like really natural, like indigenous environment, very at one with nature. And it wasn't, when I say there was subterranean,
She's a cloned cyborg with superpowers.
it's not like
of course,
they
she
were
would live on Mars.
It
Yes,
had
of course.
its own light source. It had
Yeah,
water.
150 degrees
it was very
below.
natural. It's all
zero
natural. There
in the
was no city.
sunshine.
There was, and remember the group was very.
That's why she
small,
needs the
maybe-
fur.
maybe 30 or 40. There's not by far anything like that you'd have a sophisticated structure.
Well, that may be true,
for a
Eugene.
community
I believe
would
that
need a
they
city.
did discover bacteria in the 70s, late
Yeah.
70s, right?
All
That
right.
experiment that they
So
covered
when
up.
you say they tore, I guess they tore you apart. Were they like? Were they trying to analyze your cybernetics? Were they advanced technologically?
Yeah, no, I think I said that they didn't have any tech, and that's why it was so compelling to them. Like, what is this? Like, this technology is not something we've seen before.
She was with the
I said they
pygmy
didn't have any
Martians.
craft, they didn't have weapons.
Right.
They didn't have any of that. They were, yeah. In our terms, we'd say they were a little bit backward, but I would say just observing their spiritual development was exquisite, absolutely exquisite. So we have to rethink what is technology, right? Yeah.
All right. So at that point, I guess they tore you apart
If
and
they don't-
you died.
That's
Did you
the
still-
end of story. Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
They tore her. These incredibly spiritually advanced beings tore her and her cyborg parts apart, and she died. What's she doing here? Or is she a clone of herself now? Boy, this is getting good.
soul get transferred back to another clone body? Is that how that works?
It seemed like it naturally went back to, migrating back to where it was supposed to go. And then for some reason, they always seemed like they had a dossier of clones at the ready, because I was, I died
Oh, so if you die on Mars, your soul just goes into another clone body.
so many times.
You'll be fine.
When it was just like, repeat,
Jesus
start
Christ,
over.
this is getting deep in here.
I do have memories of being killed, by the spider on Mars, and it's very palpable.
She died, but she got better. She got a new clone body.
My consciousness has no idea where to go. Over time, like over some moments there, it does know where to go, but it's a pretty disjointing feeling to
drink water. Yes.
To be in between.
She said entanglement already. Yes.
Well, how about this? So let's go to the next topic here. The Mars Defense Force.
Did you want to
Randy
talk
Kramer's stories.
Oh,
we
skipped. Okay, I'm paused. So go ahead and tell us what. Yeah. So what?
Yeah. Well, any order you want.
What's the reptilian version of a hand job?
Yeah, I mean, the mantids were. I mentioned that.
Randy Kramer was right. There is a Mars Defense Force because this wackadoo said so.
In like caves, but the mantids. God, we had so many skirmishes with the mantids over time.
Oh, the mantids, the insectoids,
so
right? Somebody's been watching Starship Troopers too much.
Experiment on them in a way. They lived in a very upper dimensional subterranean lab. I call it a labyrinth. That's my shorthand with myself, right? Labyrinth.
David Bowie's Spiders on Mars.
They were also, I would say we could call them native, but I know that they had come from elsewhere. But so long ago, you might as well consider the mantids native to Mars.
Shut up.
They took up residence, from what I observed through my memories and psychically. They took up residence.
It must be true.
I would call like the ancient.
Randy Kramer said
ancient
so.
beings, very very tall beings that left a lot.
By the way, I have to message you about something. I'll do that tonight.
Highly elevated, super advanced, super quantum technology. Those beings, I know they've been called previously by someone else as the ancient builders. They left something behind there on Mars, and the mantids came in at some point, at least the ones that I was familiar with, and co-opted that structure because it had such a high energetic.
You gotta end with a smile when you tell your big story. Absolutely.
And I remember we were tasked with.
Emperor's Delight is coming, Mr. Ian.
Trying to understand the
mantids
frequency
did a lot of overtime. Yeah, didn't Randy Kramer kill all the mantids?
Built into the technology of their underground domicile, and protected them, and we were trying to figure out how to deal
weapons from the Halo video game.
I know we went over there one time with a
upper dimensional subterranean, yes,
and thrust them into the frequency fence, and the POW person being blew up. Again, we're talking about frequency. If you're not in a certain frequency range, you're not going to be able to get through the frequency fence. You're not.
So they had a mantid with them, and they threw it into the frequency fence.
No, we did. We were from Defense Force. We were tasked with going over there and trying to, figure out the technology. And we brought, instead of putting ourselves
what movie
in harm's
script
way
is she talking about? All of them, apparently. Every sci-fi movie you've ever heard of is in her story.
And through them, and we were the ones throwing the person into the field to see what happened, and they were terminated. Yeah.
All right. And wow. Okay. So describe what these mantis beings look like.
Yes. I remember them as being kind of beautiful. I mean, the greenish hue, but I remember them having a light
beautiful
to them.
Insectoid aliens.
Like there were, I call them elders. We were always trying to get at the mantid elders, because the mantid elders were, let's say, tasked or had the authority over the entire the entire code for the whole group. Right? I wouldn't call them a hive mind, but they have a code that keeps them in a unity field, right? And so the elders they always, again, we're talking about elder spiritual race here. That's how I always perceive them. And I have a lot of, I think it's a kind of guilt.
You might be right.
Over there
in these rooms.
They had no beef with us, man. They didn't.
She's got a lot of superpowers.
I've drawn a drawing of a mantid elder that has like a robe, like a blue robe on. So the elders seem to have like a higher, somewhat higher status, or they were just tasked with keeping the group together, keeping the group.
She got eaten by aliens.
Again, yes. Spiritual. And
don't worry, she's fine. Her soul went into a clone body.
Way with frequency. So, and they were tall. They were probably, I don't know, 7 feet tall. Taller than I, for sure. And I never felt afraid when I would look at a mantis. Like maybe I got used to looking at them. We also had them on the base. You know, we had them working for us. I remember waking up from some kind of augmentation and having two mantids over me, and
You're right. That would
they
be
were
cool.
looking at each other, and I could tell they were going, "Oh, do we fuck it up? Like, do we screw this one up? We're going to be in trouble if we did." So we had them on the base as mechanics and techs and surgeons and so on, right? And how we did that is through mind controlling them.
Star Trek, yeah.
I remember going over with Dean, my
kicked out of Mars Defense Force for selling shrooms.
We went over there. We gassed them, and then we bombarded them with frequency. This was our orders, not because we wanted to. We were mind controlled slaves, right? Bombarded them with frequency, and in that moment of creating trauma,
mantis beings hate blue color robes.
That would hurt them and allow us to control.
Dino beavers make her horny.
Couldn't bring them back to the base. They'd be under a kind of spell or mind control, so we could use them at the base.
She doesn't own any cats.
Highly devious, really devious behavior here. Yeah.
All right. So why were you humans or whoever MDF or whoever you're with, or why were they attacking these mantis? What did they do?
Yeah, isn't that the beautiful? Thank you for that question. They didn't do anything. They would have been perfectly happy. They belonged there. We came in, set up shop. They would have been happy to have us around, if we had just left them alone. But we didn't.
No, he's all chips in. He loves this stuff. He's got his whole channel is these kind of wackadoos.
And to our commanders, it was like the mantis were target practice. Go use your weapons on the mantis. Go mantid hunting. It's pretty disgraceful. But to hone our skills and to do something when we were bored and to try and get more of them over there to work for us and really to decimate them. We wanted the territory, and I think it's bringing a kind of power
target practice on those
Mars and
insectoid aliens.
And by the way, I would say too, my experience at Mars plays out that indeed the Mars colonies were run by psychopaths. So, not everything is going to make sense. And I was in the cesspool of the programs. This is back in, we're talking about the 80s, right? I think things had changed over time to be a little bit more even and fair. I'm not sure.
Well, we thank you, Storm Crow, for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. Kind and generous Australian, $20. Thank you for helping us to praise the cat.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
There we have it, friends. Thank you, longtime show supporter.
Well, did you ever get to visit the
was my birthday
cities?
Take the Aussie pennies. I will.
Did they ever allow you to come in and actually see what it?
They didn't allow us to come in. So my twin and I, Dean, we were twins, so we would be able to do, among other things, psychic recall together. And I remember we would remotely.
He's quiet because she's already checked all the boxes.
That's
yes,
how we were activated as twins. And I remember looking into his opulent. It's the frequency, it's like.
Got to use the word frequency a lot if you're in the New Age
there
person.
Were striations of crystal or diamond in the wall,
crystals,
something emanating, pulsating in the light.
Crystal hippie bitches would love her.
This room where the elders were strategizing, and there was this tall table they were standing at over, and it seemed to have. This seemed techie, like it felt like glass that was lit up with like light, like symbols or something that were moving.
Really? I didn't see that.
On this, I don't know.
She doesn't have much memory of events. Yeah, she's just checking every box, though, right? Interesting. I don't have much memory of events. I could just talk for hours on end about all this.
I mean, I don't know exactly what the tech was or what it was made out of, but they were interfacing with this thing that was like, we would say it was like, it was like a big cell phone or a big, thing, but it had a consciousness.
She's like the female Corey Good. She did 20 in backs too. Shut up.
Was it? So it was like some kind of looking glass technology.
Yeah, it seemed to be.
Looking glass.
It was changing before my eyes. Like it was almost.
Looking glass is garbage that was pushed by Bob Lazar, mentioned it, and then a fake fraud whistleblower named Dan Burrish expanded on the Looking Glass stories. Not a real thing.
The symbols and writing were coming up off the table, like they were reaching toward them. It was a really dynamic.
Miss Terry, thanks for being a member, says, I can't hear her anymore. It's just a stream of wackadoo.
So were you actually able to interface with it yourself?
Yeah, a lot of people see insectoid beings.
No, we were playing. We were sneaking in there mentally, psychically, right, to see what we could see.
She's single.
Yeah.
Okay. So did these mantis? Did they wear clothes?
Yeah, I felt the elders, like I said, I observed some of them wearing like a robe or something, it's a more elevated garment, but a lot of them seemed like they had nothing on.
The
They were
feeding
just,
is near to its
naked,
end.
naked mantis.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. Did the humans ever make a
Yeah.
truce
How
between
do
the
you
mantis
communicate?
eventually?
Oh, you would think, like, brilliant question, right? Like, why don't you just make a truce? Of course, that's like the logical thing as we're sitting here talking about it now.
I agree.
To my
I
knowledge,
like old
no,
50s
all they did
sci-fi
was wage
movies.
war on those poor mantis. That's my recollection. And you remember, somebody else might have a different
Bill
different
Brockbrader, yeah,
experience on
the
Mars in the same
convicted
program.
child
But
predator.
this was,
Yes,
this was
Elise.
my recollection, is that there was no truce.
Simp equals
Absolutely
yes.
not.
Did they ever get a hold of a mantid elder?
Oh, we were trying to kill him. Yeah. Well, I don't know if we got them and brought them with us. You know, because we could predict this, right? They could leave their bodies. The elders could leave via consciousness. They could leave their body. So you could get a body, you could kill the body, but they wouldn't be gone. Isn't that interesting? So I don't think they would be useful as a POW, or like get them and pull them back to the base and try and do that with
She
them.
got
They were
flashed by a
way
mantis.
higher
Yeah, some of them don't wear
I know some
clothes.
whales do that when they try to.
I wonder what a
bring them
mantis
into
cock
captivity.
looks
They just
like.
end up dead
Why
in
did
a
I think of
couple
that?
days.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yes.
putting it out there.
Right. Maybe that's a similar thing. That's really interesting. Yeah.
She's got an
Did
alien
these
language
mantis ever make any sounds? And if they did, what do you think it would sound like?
Ooh, that's a good question. I have to think about that, because all the sounds, like when I think about sounds, it's telepathic. Like they're highly telepathic. All these beings are very telepathic. So
Yeah,
it's
they just
almost like
happen to be
is it
telepathic,
a
and so
telepathic
is
sound?
she, right?
I don't know. I
boy,
don't
that's
remember
convenient.
precise sounds that were signature to their race per se. Yeah.
Were they very technologically advanced? Like they used a lot of technology in their lives, or were they just limited amounts of it?
Well, the tech thing that I observed, the two tech things were the place they were living was just like so opulent. I mean, it's amazing that I got the experience to see all of that. And
Yes,
that tech that, like I talk about.
These insectoid aliens native to the planet Mars live in an opulent city that nobody can see on Earth except her. Yeah, a little bit of a plot hole. There are people, there's amateur astronomers all over Earth that can image the surface of Mars. Nobody sees these alien cities, right? Nobody sees all these space battles taking place constantly.
About the frequency fence and the energy of the
labyrinth. There's a
that
frequency
protected them.
fence too.
It was alive. It was conscious.
You got to use frequency
That's
a lot.
very techy. But and also the table I've described, this tech that they had, like you said, like a looking glass technology. Other than that, I don't think they had any kind of craft or,
Come on, she's confirming every story in Conspiracy Land is real.
For example, they are some of the mantis that were working for us at the base, we had co-opted. They ambushed us one night in our own craft from the base. And they were bombing us from the air. I mean, they decimated the base, and they had help from outside groups to do this. But it wasn't their own tech. It wasn't Mantid technology. It was ours.
Could be.
And they knew exactly how it worked.
There.
And I had my leg blown off. I mean, I was very injured that night. And it's a night I'll never forget because the firefight was so bad.
She had her leg blown off.
And very unexpected. It's one of my worst battle memories. Absolutely. Yeah.
I guess she got
when they blew off your leg, did they, I don't know, give you surgery? Were you amputee for the rest of your life? Or was it?
Yeah, this is my $1 million question, because my memory goes black. I know there's somebody at that moment. There's a guy running by me. He's like,
all right, so she got her leg blown off on Mars. She doesn't remember how, but she got her leg back. That's another. I'm calling that a plot hole.
I'm gonna fucking die. And I have no leg. My left leg is gone. And they're screaming and they're running.
She is making Corey Goode look like a historian. Thanks for being a member, Miss Terry.
Expired. And they had to take another clone.
So you mentioned this other person, Dean. Is this person someone you know in the here and now? And could they come on the show, maybe with you?
Yeah, I wish he was ready to do that, Dean. Oh, Dean.
Oh, one of her imaginary friends.
He's a place in my heart. I have not met him personally. He came to me in the fall of 2021. He came psychically. He came psychically. I was out on some land that I like to walk on in West Texas, where I was living at the time, really remote land, and I felt this protective male energy behind me, and I knew it was benevolent, and I was just like checking it out. and I had actually been thinking about the Mars mantis at the time that the energy showed up, and I felt it
Yeah,
on my
a lot
right
of
and my
people feel
left.
that
And
way.
I didn't really understand it
She
fully.
was
When I
very
went
injured.
back
She
home
lost her
later that
leg,
night, he
but
said,
she got it back
"You
somehow.
ought to know me.
Don't
You
worry.
saved my life. Saved my life."
She
And
makes
over
Corey
the
look
following
truthful.
days, that
Yeah,
was the
it's pretty bad.
introduction. I
She
could
lost her
see
brain
him
once.
psychically, everything but his face, his
How many
reddish
shrooms did she
receding hairs.
snort?
We're the same age, right? Like coming to me from the physical aspect that he has now. His t-shirt,
All
his
right,
jeans,
friends.
very pristine.
I think that we have done enough. We are. Let me see how we've got 26 minutes of this left. I think we're going to check out 26 minutes early. We did our due diligence. This is the wackadoo of the week. This girl has checked every box in conspiracy land. Dulcie Base is real. Montauk stories are all true. Mars Defense Force is true. 20 and backs are real. She's a cyborg. She got superpowers. She was murdered by reptilian Mars aliens, but don't worry, they put her soul in a clone body. She got her leg blown off, but don't worry, she got her leg back. What can I say, friends? This is the wackadoo of the week, and we're gonna close off there. We're just over 3 hours. I didn't plan to really go this long. I don't know, what do I say to wrap that up? This is the wackadoo of the week, and maybe not every week, but every once in a while, when it's a slow week and there's not much going on in the land of alien and UFO and conspiracy land, we will sample some of the greatest wackadoos on the internet. This was just our first one. If you have suggestions, please email me, truthseekershow@gmail.com. And we can do this again. Now the poll, we have to get into the poll. So let me refresh my screen just to be sure that we're getting an accurate poll reading. We asked in our poll, what we asked was, is this girl telling the truth or making this all up? So 17% of you, 86 votes, 17% said she's telling the truth, and 83% said she's making all this stuff up. I would have to agree with the people who said she's making all this stuff up. We'll end our poll. I mentioned earlier that I had not uploaded the monthly show journal for May. I still have that to do tonight and a few other things to wrap up the week, including updating our audio podcast. A few of you messaged me. Yes, I'm a little bit behind. That will all be updated before I leave for the cabin tomorrow. I will be doing, I said I was going to do it last week, got too busy. I got just a little bit of stuff to do on the cabin bathroom. Odds and ends. I got a wood putty, I got a caulk, I got to do some other stuff. And thank you, Troll for the kind and generous $5. And also thanks for being a member. We appreciate you. Thank you for helping us, longtime show supporter and channel member, saying great new segment, Stephen, for helping us to praise the cat.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Yeah, so I've got just a little bit more to finish up on that bathroom. Hopefully, I want to do a fireside chat from the cabin, and I will be trying my best to do that sometime this weekend. Not sure when, so it depends on how the finishing touches to the bathroom go. I have some caulk, wood putty, and a few trim and odds and ends and things like that. Yeah. And we want to thank Envy5150 for a kind and generous $3 super chat. $3 PayPal pledge. We thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. And once again, we would like to thank Maria for a kind and generous $150 PayPal pledge. Very, very generous of you. Saying, keep up the great work, Stephen. I watch every day. Keep it going. Yeah, we intend to keep it going. And thank you, Maria, for the PayPal pledge. And thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. I turned blurry like Bigfoot for a second there. So I'm not sure when we'll be back. Be sure to, and thank you, Troll. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Stephen Cambion, or on Facebook. It's just Stephen Cambion. And also, you can join our Discord. I encourage you also to check out our website, which is truthseekershow.com. And from our website, truthseekershow.com, you can get all of our latest episodes, whatever your format that you prefer. If you prefer the audio podcast format, all of the latest episodes are there. The audio podcast is always a little bit behind, but all the latest videos are also available right from our website. It is truthseekershow.com. And we thank all of you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. I want to thank everybody for being here. We have done our due diligence, not only for tonight, but for the week. We are rapidly approaching 1 million views. And I promise you, when we hit that 1 million views, let's check in. I haven't checked in. We'll see where exactly are we at with our view counter. And you can help us hit it quicker. My call to action, there's a lot of ways to help us with our show, but one of the greatest ways that you too can help is to watch one more. Talk to somebody who worked for YouTube for a long time and told me that one of the greatest ways to influence YouTube to recommend your channel more is to get people to watch one more. If you do a live stream and people come to the live stream, that's great. But if people return to your channel to watch one more of your previous live streams, they turn up the dials and they recommend your show more, because apparently that makes YouTube think you must create good content, so good that people come back for more. So please do. We have a huge catalog here of shows that we've done previously. Come back and watch one more. And I'm checking in with our YouTube statistics. Now, honestly, we have deleted or privated an awful lot of old stuff. So we passed 1 million views according to YouTube last month. But the public counter, and that's what I'm going by, says 979,351 views. So we need just a little over 20,000 more views, and we will have hit our one of our original goals with our channel, which is 1 million views. Amazing journey it has been. When we hit that 1 million views, hopefully by sometime next week, if not the following week, we'll be doing a big panel celebration show. I know we haven't done a panel show in a long time. The chaos is too much for me. But we're going to be doing it to celebrate hitting 1 million views. I also want to take the time to welcome all of you new subscribers. Thank you for lending us your eyes. Thank you for lending us your ears and your attention. We got somewhere between 250 and 300 new subscribers this month. It's been a great month for new friends, and we welcome all of you new friends, and we thank all of you veterans who have been here for a very long time. We have a great mix here. Please do follow me on Twitter at Stephen Cambion. You'll know about the next live show, and I will try to announce it as soon as I know. Probably sometime on Saturday when I get to this cabin bathroom, I'm going to know exactly how much more I need, how much more time I need. But we're going to try to do it maybe Saturday night, just a fireside chat from the cabin and the campfire. I am so excited because I've been working on this cabin bathroom. You guys have been hearing about it for months. But then I got sick 3 times. My kids, they keep getting me sick. And then I skipped a bunch of weekends because I was sick. And then I got COVID while I was working on the bathroom there. And that slowed me down. And anyway, I finished all of the cement work last weekend. This weekend, it's just some wood putty and some caulk and some stain and some varnish. And we're gonna finally put a bow on that bathroom. It's for my wife. I don't care about bathrooms or how nice they are, but the walls were exposed. There was just like open walls with insulation in them, and the ceiling was exposed. And so we've buttoned everything up. I got some fun stuff to hang up and decorate with. I can't wait. This weekend, I'm going to finish that bathroom one way or the other, come hell or high water. Yeah, No Bull Truth is asking me to do shower streams. That's a good way to lose all of our subscribers, right? No, people will send me money, but to keep my clothes on, maybe, right? Yeah, and thank you, Adaptable, who says, excellent stream, Stephen, thanks, and God bless you all. Yeah, we appreciate it. So we want to thank all of you kind and generous benefactors, you Patreon supporters, you Twitch subscribers, you YouTube channel members. By the way, new video coming later tonight. And we thank you super chatters, super sticker purchasers, super thanks people, you PayPal pledgers, and everyone for all of your kindness, generosity, and support. We want to thank our chat room moderators. We want to thank Spooky, and we want to thank Mr. Ian for being the support people that helps make all of this work. And I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. What a great crowd we had tonight. I can't wait to do it again. But of course, you understand, I got to finish that bathroom. The time in which I have to work on the cabin is rapidly going away. My wife only goes there in the summertime. So I've only got a few more weeks before my wife will start coming there every weekend. I want to get it all cleaned up and cleaned out, all the man stuff, you know. Every year I spend an entire weekend just cleaning the whole cabin. Then my wife comes and cleans it again because apparently I don't clean enough. But I got to do the rough cleaning first, right? Get rid of all the tools. Every year I just go through the whole cabin. And there's tools everywhere. You know, I've been building this cabin for years. So there's like screwdrivers and drill drivers and saws. And I just grab it all and throw it in boxes and throw it in the shed until she's done for the summer. I want her to have a good time, get all my man crap out of there. I'll be doing some of that this weekend. And hopefully I'll be back with you guys for a fireside chat from the cabin. And we've also got some great new stuff coming next week. I got another free documentary that I'm completing, and it will be released next week for all of you. Just a free documentary. Can't wait to bring that to you. And yeah, so what can I say, friends? We've done our due diligence for the week. I want to thank you for a great week. I want to thank you all, especially for all the birthday wishes and the birthday love. You guys made it one of the best birthdays I've ever had. I think I've had the best birthday I've ever had in my life. I just had, thanks to all of you and my two wonderful children and my lovely wife. So, you know, look, we've done our due diligence. I am gonna try to pack up and get ready for the cabin. I leave tomorrow, so but hopefully I'll be talking to you from there. So what else can I say, friends? That's all we got for you. I do want to remind you, however, that these Stephen Greer whistleblowers are a joke. And anybody pushing or helping Stephen Greer hype these completely and totally fake whistleblowers cannot be trusted. They're lying to you. Why would they lie to you? Oh, because they make money from Stephen Greer. So they're going to help Stephen Greer make more money. Don't trust people that are hyping these fake whistleblowers, that are hyping Stephen Greer making another, I don't know, mountain of money from, you know, people who desperately want to believe this. And you know who's been hyping this. You know who's, oh, wait till the Washington, D.C. event and Greer's got all these whistleblowers. They are a joke. But it is what it is. And this is where we're at. And this is where we find ourselves. I'm glad I was able to bring that information early to many of you. So many of you, hopefully, will not waste your money on fake whistleblowers with no evidence, telling stupid stories they can't prove. And by the way, if you can't prove somebody's story is real, if they can't prove their story is true, even if I can't prove their stories are fake, their stories have no value. And you should not pay money for a so-called disclosure event when the only thing being disclosed is fantastical fairy tales that no one has any evidence for, apparently. And that's the way it is, friends. So anybody that you have heard hyping Greer, hyping this event, talking about his whistleblowers, right? They're not to be trusted. They're in on the con, in my opinion. And that's just the way it is, friends. So that's all we got for you tonight, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.
embrace a full digital life revolution. Uploading acapellas, drum beats, and guitar riffs to the World Wide Web, from one countryside to the next. It's an international love affair, and new music is our gift to the free world. Our freedom of expression is only limited by our creativity, so we stand together, and because of it, our voices are unlimited. We represent every corner of the world as we broadcast our message to every country, state, city, and town. Our supporters have expressed tremendous gratitude for taking the high road and giving them free music again to the world.
I believe that you will agree with me when I say that in the last few months, and especially the last few weeks, that the anointing of the Holy Spirit on the telecast has been exceptional. The letters that we are receiving, the comments that you are giving us, but above all, it's just there. And we thank the Lord so much for it, because it is the anointing that breaks the yoke. It breaks that yoke asunder, whatever the yoke may be. I want to thank you also for the help that you gave us last week concerning the appeals that we made, how we are rejoicing. I wish I could give you a total now. I can't. I just can't. I don't have it yet. But I'm asking you, please. God spoke with a lot of you that did not respond. And we love you and we thank you, but when God speaks to you, I know he'll bless you if you will respond. And if you could send a gift of $50.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.